morning, Scotland 83. Can you just give us a little bit of info back, whether you can hear us okay? You there, Scotland?
Well, how about we get the little
on my Facebook page, you put the link to the we're live, but we're not starting any commentary yet. Just want to see if you've got audio. Just switched it on, so it's an audio going. Make sure it's all clear. Can you just click on it and let me know if you can. I'll move the phone away from here. Hey Jimmy, throwing down it?
Alright mates, if anyone wants to buy merch today, come and flag me down. We got marquees, t-shirts, posters, but obviously you don't want to carry it around.
Sorry, Ryan? Tyson. Sorry, Tyson.
Not a shirt.
It was something like yeah, it's on the Facebook page. There should be a link there. It's Netherworld Arcade on Twitch. There's stuff streaming. You'll see, hopefully see a picture of me. Fortnite. All you young kids playing Fortnite. Hey, hi Scotland. Can you hear this okay, Scotland 83? Someone just got on. I just thought I'd check if they can hear. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's down below. What is there? There should be a picture above that of me. Yeah, okay. Okay. So let me tell me. I'll move my phone away. Turn your audio up and see if you can hear me. Oh yeah. Can you hear me at all? You ready? Just text in, just on the message board. Just chat board. Let me a message if you can hear me. Yeah, did you hear me though when I moved it away? Could you hear me at all? Okay, let me say something to Twitch and just let me know if you heard it clearly. Hey, John Galag Gods, just a test. Can you hear me okay? Did you hear that? Oh, you didn't message me back though. Oh, there you go. I hear. Oh, okay, he heard that. Yeah, I'll keep going. I'll ring you back in a minute. I'll just check something else. Cool. Hey, there's a set of headphones. back if this is coming through all right, the audio. Or John, Galaga God, or Scotland 83, just a bit of feedback. Oh, perfect. So it's coming through clear. Even if I sit back from here. Hey, John. Oh, yeah, of course, Bandit, you are John. Thanks, Scotland. No worries. Well, we're going to be going, well, we're live now, but we're going to start having some of the conversation start, a bit of introduction. So just stay on, pass it around, people know. I've just got a few phone calls. Skippy. Scotland 83, where are you coming in from there? Oh no, yeah, Scotland 83. Where are you? Oh, naturally. Alright, as you can see, might as well get started. Players are already sitting down. We can see Richie Knuckles there in the foreground on one of the machines playing. Not sure if that's his board or not, that we can see there on a score of 153,000. I'm imagining it is because he's been sitting there for a little bit. So today will be people just trying to get into the top 16. Unlike other Commonwealths, we've got a finals of 16 players. Hey, Mark. And nothing has officially started, but I think the scores, any score now from here on out for the day can put you in the top 16. No full numbers have come in yet, but they're expecting at least 70 people competing today. We have some really top players here, including Ethan Daniels from US, Estelle Offenett from US, Andrew Barrett from New Zealand, a string of Australian players, Shane Saul, Alan Stoll. Both those guys are hopefully the first million-point players here in Australia. To start, did I put this link up on the blog form? No, I haven't, so you might want to pass around Facebook. Scotland, what's that, 70? So I might have missed something there. But yeah, I'm going to get Jimmy Nails on soon, just to yeah. Oh, Jimmy, it's coming through. I'm talking to people. I rang up the US, so it's all coming. Well, the audio's coming through fine.
Great.
Yeah, awesome.
No lag if I need to. Oh no, this is actually cleaned up a bit.
Yeah.
Nice. All right.
Okay, so Jimmy.
Hey mate.
Jimmy's the co-founder of Netherworld with Ben Nichols, and this is the second Kong off.
Second Kong off.
Pretty strong atmosphere already, I'd imagine here.
Yeah,
I'm
like
not sure
I
if
reckon.
is this mic
Hey, yeah.
here?
Can you guys hear me? Okay. I'm
make
just
sure.
seeing down here. I reckon you can hear
Oh
me.
yeah,
fine.
good. We've got a little bar there that tells us.
What's up, Mr. Bandit? Hey mates. Yeah, I reckon we'll get. Last year we had 42 people come and put in scores. I reckon this year we'll get 50 plus, maybe 60. It's going to be busy in here when the bar opens to the public. Like, it is going to be busy.
But,
Awesome. I'm glad.
Yeah, there's certainly a definite atmosphere here. People are pretty keen to see what's going to happen today.
Yeah.
And I was just mentioning, we're looking for a top 16 players, aren't we? Well,
Yeah.
not top 16, there's a bracket of 16. We can
Bracket
go
top
pull from
16.
that 70.
No, yeah, so top 16 scores today, which I'm hoping. The reason I chose top 16 was to hopefully make today a bit more relaxed. If it was top 8, I feel like the guys, there'd be a lot more pressure and
A bit more hog on the machine.
a lot more hogging machines, a lot of stress when you're queuing and waiting. Whereas today, a lot of these guys are hoping to get a good game out of the way before midday, and then they can relax and socialise and hang out. And
I think they did all that last night.
yeah, no, well, I got a few more days yet to do it. So
No, I mean, drinking-wise, I think there was a bit of relaxing going on last night. Yeah.
yeah.
so the festivities really began yesterday, didn't they?
Oh,
For
yeah,
the players,
definitely.
everyone's rolled in. But unlike last year, we've sort of got a lot more, a few more million-point players. It's a bit more pressure on for some of that top end.
Yeah, well, I reckon last year there was only
Well, Barra was here.
maybe 5 or 6 people that got over 300,000 last year, whereas this year there'll probably be 10,
Oh,
12,
I think
15 people.
There's got to be at least 10, 12 who are above 800,000.
Thank you, Jill. Thank you. I just turned up the mic here. I might even go a bit higher.
Thanks, Luke. Got a mic? So that isn't for the computer.
Sorry, we're still doing some technical stuff here. Yeah, so as Jimmy was saying, this year we've got a string of players who are above 800,000. You know how many non-Aussies and New Zealanders are playing? We've got 2 US players. We've got Ethan Daniels and Estelle Goffinet, and we've got Sean Tagg from the UK.
Yeah.
He's here. And Johnny Bond from Denmark again has come out. So it is genuinely an international tournament. No shortage of continent representation there from Australia, US, Europe, and of course the UK and New Zealand. So so I think we're gonna. I think with the extra sort of level of talent coming in with this 1 million point players, the pressure's going to be on for those who might have held a bit more comfortable last year.
Oh yeah, yeah. I think the real battle is going to be around the people who are hovering around the 200 to 300,000 point mark.
Yeah.
They're the ones that are going to really need to have one of the best games, or have everything go their way. I'm definitely in that age. I'm definitely in that bracket. I got a PB here last year, so I hope I'm going to have a game later and maybe get 150. That won't be enough.
Well, that's what's happening with the DK board. We're going to have Jeff Harris on tomorrow.
Yeah, great.
And I think the leaderboard, unlike other ones, the DK one, I mean, they all have a certain amount of personal goals, but in it, you have fairly friendly grudge matches. Of course, obvious one Australia's the Alan Stall, the Shane Saul one. They're both pushing to try and get the first Australian 1 million point player. Yeah. But then we've got other players who are down further on the ladder, like the 100,000, 200,000 points, who are in a contest, a friendly rival with them, with other players.
Yeah.
So I think that it's not as because it's a tournament. We're not looking at. I mean, we're not going to see a world record set over the 2 days.
No, I don't think so. I'd be even surprised if we see a kill screen today, because the guys will, 300, 400,000 is going to be enough. Yep. So I'm not sure. So hopefully someone does it for the spectacle of it. And again, in finals, you often see the scores are quite low because of that extra pressure. Suddenly, you get a bad run or a bad board.
Oh, exactly. I think that, with any kind of live sort of play of anything, like in tournaments, you've got the added psychological pressure. You don't have the comfort of sitting at home and starting again. Yeah. But because of that, the tournament, the world record of this is so high now. Like the idea that, unless those players are here, we're not going to see that. Yeah. But it's bringing, these things aren't about world records. They're about, best of the day. We saw it at Score Wars. We saw it in previous Commonwealth. We saw it the recent Tetris tournaments. Yeah. But it's also about the young talent that seems to be coming in. Like we've got a lot of 20-year-olds coming in. But the Tetris champ, I can't think of his name. He was only 16 years old. So we've got. It'll be interesting to see as these things are certainly getting momentum. Yeah. And the fact that it's far reach to Australia, like this is. Donkey Kong wasn't a big game in Australia.
Well, thanks to a couple of documentaries, guys like Richie pushing it. So let's just look at who's that. That gentleman's name, that's 90 something. I'm just seeing who's on cab 1.
Yeah, 100.
Chris Jennings. So I'm not sure. I think about 250 is his PB. Chris Jennings, I think. He's a good local. He's one of the best pinball players in Brisbane as well, Chris. It's pretty rare to see a crossover pinball arcade guy, to be honest.
I think you see the crossover the other way from arcade to pinball, but not necessarily pinball to arcade. Yeah. There is some sort of, I wouldn't say snobbery, but there's certain elitist attitude there. And it's well deserved. I'm not saying that in a nasty way. I think they're just very different games, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. Well done.
I think the other thing is to remember with Donkey Kong is because I've always referred to it as a genuinely finesse game. It's one of those pixel perfect games. You can't be a little bit off. You've got to jump just at the right time. You've got to be just. You're watching something else.
Oh, that was unbelievable, that save. It was down to 0 and there was like three fireballs around there. He somehow managed to get over them.
Oh, I missed that.
Sorry.
But yeah, like that's a good case in point that you can still see great plays.
Woo!
That's the point I'm getting at. Even in a low-scoring game in Donkey Kong, you can still see great plays like in any game.
Oh man, sometimes you'll have an incredible, and you'll pull out a amazing save on board 1. Like you just get into these weird type. You're forced into it. It's unbelievable.
And I think also, you'll hear players talk down their score, but when they really should be talking up. Like some of the scores at the low end of the ladder on the Donkey Kong forum are, scores like 200,000 aren't an easy get.
No, absolutely not.
So while we're here this weekend, what I think tomorrow, if anyone gets 40,000 points, they get a. Is that right?
No. The pins are just for anyone who comes and has a game today. So the first 50 odd people that come through the door get a pin.
Yeah. I just got mine on. Yeah. But there are some other goals being set today. Because what is the prize today for the ultimate winner? Isn't
Well,
there a
tomorrow,
kill streak?
so we have a wrestling style badge for the winner.
Yep.
Plus $1,000 cash
Yep.
for the winner tomorrow. I got vouchers for second and third.
What are vouchers over the bar? Vouchers for Netherworld?
Yeah.
Yep.
But yeah, the first 50 odd people through the door get a free pin, and then there's a bunch of merch for sale. I do have a couple. We do wizard pins here are one of the things we do to.
What's a wizard pin?
So we do every like 3 or 4 months we release 3 new artist designed pins, and they're set on 2 arcades and 2 pinballs. And I set a score that I consider like a wizard score to achieve. So for example, Donkey Kong, for example, I chose a score of 40,000 because that is basically you're on about 40,000 when you complete the first pie level. And so that's encouraging a couple of things. Most people don't even know there's a level past the barrel stage. So really encouraging people that don't know anything about the game to learn about it. So depends on the game, but I normally try and set a target where it's something you should be aiming for when you're playing that game. Like I'm going to release a Qubit wizard pin this week, and the target score is 22,000, which is where you get your second free man or extra man. What other ones have we done? Pinballs, I tend to.
Kelly Tharp here put a score of. What did he put on yesterday?
1.4 something million yesterday. Was just playing around. So
he got a wizard pin? No.
Yeah, he will get one for that.
Yep.
So just so for those watching, Ethan is currently on the bottom screen here on the bottom
Ethan
left.
Daniels.
Yeah, Ethan Daniels. And the Croc, Johnny Bond is on the direct feed one on the right. He got about 200,000 earlier this morning, and I think he's going to try and get 300
Yep.
and then probably hit the beers, I'm guessing. But I'll hopefully, another hour or two, I should be able to get a nice leaderboard going in the feed here. And I'll start adding scores into matchplay.com so you can have a look on there as well.
Yeah, I think we're going to see tomorrow like those fighting for first, second, and third. Like when we look at the lineup of players, like just pointing to Johnny Bond there, you know, Shane Saul sitting at like a personal best of 918,000, Alan Stall 905, Johnny Bond 852, and Michael Kibbe or the Kibler 843.
Kibler.
So you know, so people are falling into that area. Any of those guys could still win. It's not it's not. No one's assured because their personal best of $1 million. They're going to do it again.
No.
And then we've got and after these events, you'll be still streaming on Monday.
Yeah, there's a bit happening Monday. So there is the Space Off or the Space something. I can't remember what.
I think Walter Day was calling the Space Off.
The
I'm not
Space
sure
Off.
what you guys went with anyway.
I don't think we came up with anything yet. But yeah, we've got 2 Space Invaders cabs on the floor at the minute. So the current world record holder is a local, John Tannehill, and the former world record holder, Mr. Richie Knuckles, will be going head-to-head on Monday. I'm not sure what time they're going to start.
Yeah, just to clarify that, John Tannehill's the current world record holder.
Yeah.
He did that early this year, and Richie Knuckles was the former world record holder, so they'll be going head-to-head. And luckily, Netherworld has a US cabinet, and they've also got the Japanese cabinet, so that means that Tannehill's more comfortable with the joystick and button, which isn't common in the US at all.
Yep.
We get the US's left, right button, and then the 5 buttons, a 3-button game. And Richie was saying he can't stand playing on a joystick, and John Tannehill can't stand playing on
the buttons. Yeah.
So why they did that in the US away from the Japanese original, I'm not too sure.
Yeah.
But they're playing on the machines they like, and it'll be again, another genuine international tournament on the same weekend.
Yeah.
Like, they are really the only 2 players that are really known. I mean, there are players in Japan, but apparently the Japanese players, they really frown upon playing the death row
is that right?
Yeah. They don't look favourably upon it, so it's not seen as serious.
Yep.
So they probably are the last. Well, they're the only 2 players we know of who are seriously competing on Space Invaders, because I don't think Donald Hayes is playing at all.
Yeah.
So again, it's really 2 international tournaments this weekend.
Yeah.
So it's a
Pretty
big
cool. It's
weekend.
very exciting. Yeah. Morning, Sis Crusher. What's up? And then also Kibbe, who can't see right now. He's going to be attempting the Nibbler Marathon world record.
I was talking this morning.
So Cobber.
Because he currently has the main world record.
Yeah, so he did the MAME actually at this very desk.
Yeah, that's right.
On his PC, I think 3 or 4 months ago. That took just over 20 hours. So yeah, after he did that, we put together. I got a nibbler board from someone in Canada. Dave, who built all of the Donkey Kong cabs for this weekend, has built a Rockola style reproduction nibbler cab. It's beautiful. He matched the green perfectly. He got the artwork on the side. So I think Kimmy's planning on starting around 10 on Monday.
Yeah, we're going to get him on later to have more of a chat, because he was saying this morning that he
Pearl, that is direct feed on the right hand side. We've got about 4 cabs set up with direct feed at the minute. I could talk for about an hour about how difficult that's been, but fingers crossed it holds. Yeah, looks great. I'm really happy with it.
Yeah.
You okay?
Just Jimmy's a bit distracted at the moment, but yeah, I spoke to David James briefly about the cabinets. So he's building. We'll have him probably talk a bit about that later. We've got all day and all tomorrow. And I asked him if he built them out of MDF. He said no, the actual pine. He wanted to use all the, as close as he could to original materials. He's done a wonderful job. I might try and get some shots of it later and paste them up on Facebook. And also I'll get someone to talk about the graphic design, the decals, the custom-made decals that say Kong Off 2, Australia, presented by Richie Knuckles. They look great. I might grab one off the table over there and bring it over later. But just going back quickly to Michael Kibbe, he currently has the world record on main for nibbler, and on Monday he's going to have his first attempt on arcade cabinet. He doesn't expect to beat it first go, and why would you? So it's really just a feel for it, see how he's going, but he's got support through the night and stuff, so that'll be, and I think they'll be doing a live stream for that, I think, but I'll verify that later. But I'm sure people like Tim McVeigh will be tuning in for that, or certainly be interested in the results. And soon I think we'll have Richie up here to have a quick chat. I think he's on a game of Donkey Kong now. And then Paul Hanitsky, that Mr. MGL himself, will be coming on very shortly, and we're talking about sort of general tournament and competition play. I'm not too familiar with.
Jill, let me.
Sorry, Jimmy.
Let me, Jill Kong. You're going to test me here. See if I can.
We're going to see if we can move from a board machine to a machine.
Yeah. Well, I'm just going to switch because I got another feed on the left side of the.
Yeah, just for those who tune in, we're still testing, the cameras and stuff. So this is just sort of a bit of a warm up before we get some guests on and start talking. Want to make sure everything's running smooth. But as Jimmy was saying, we've got some machines with direct feed and some won't, just because old circuit boards. Talking to the techs here, David James is saying it's pretty hard to wire them up. They're a bit. I mean, genuinely speaking, in a technological sense, we're looking at pretty vintage, antiquated, equipment. But yeah, fingers crossed, touch wood, everything's going to go smoothly, and it's looking good so far. And I'm not sure who are we watching now on here? Whose game is this?
Ethan is on the bottom of the screen in the middle here,
so what,
and
is
on
this,
the left.
So where's the video that says capture device 2?
Hey Danny, what's up, bro? Giving out a few.
Sorry guys, like I said, we're just still setting a few things up. So it's video capture device 2, that's a machine here, is it? Well, we don't know which one it is.
No, that's us up there. I might rename that.
Yeah. It'd be good if you could name it, just so we could, if it's easy to do without upsetting stuff.
Yeah, no, it should be.
So that way I'll be able to sort of know which, like give them the number 1s and number 2 machines where they are. That'd be great. So do you know what this one is, then, Jimmy? Who's playing on this?
That's cab 1.
Oh, is that cab 1 over there?
Yeah.
All right. So we're watching Richie Knuckles play there. So this is a pretty solid player.
Thanks, Clint. Thanks, brother. Feeling good in here, man. Hey, Andrew. How are you, brother? Thanks for tuning in, bro. So yeah, Ethan Daniels is currently on the left hand of the screen, and Johnny Bond is on the right, on the direct feed.
Oh, so this is Johnny Bond here.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, 2 pretty interesting boards to watch. Now, this is something that's, I'm still trying to learn this aspect of the game. As we can see on the rivet board here, which we'll get someone to talk about more later, there's 2 common approaches, which is called the weave and the star.
Yep, that's right.
And the weave is largely rejected by the sounds of it. And what we see here on the direct feed with Johnny Bond, that was right, Johnny Bond,
yeah.
That jumping there, apparently that was the beginning of genuine point pressing, which Steve...
Well, that move there.
Yeah, Steve Wiebe, I think, was apparently going up. I mean, others may have been doing it, but it wasn't so common. So when Steve Weeby started doing it, just really sort of pushed the idea of point pressing, which makes sense. Prior to that, a lot of people were just running boards. Well, no one had sort of gotten close to beating Mitchell's score for all those years. So we're at level 4 now. That means that, from my knowledge, we've passed the most difficult board. Level 3, wasn't it? It seems.
I think you probably.
I think there's. I think whatever difference there is, it's probably not much.
Yeah.
So once we get to level 5, we're going to see a lot more of the steering of the barrels, aren't we?
Yeah.
So at this point, it is really very much a survival game up to and including level 4 is just to get through. Obviously, the point pressing with the upper hammer.
Thanks, Jay Wade. Donkey points back in the 80s.
But I imagine we'll just see, just finishing the stage as quick as possible. And then after we get to level 5 and a finish, we can get an idea of pace.
Yeah.
The much talked about pace.
Yeah, awesome.
So we've got the algorithm for pace. We'll be able to determine
I hope
Johnny's
someone
theoretical
takes the time
score.
To, kill screen this morning.
Yeah, I reckon that. I think we're going to see some of especially the top players who feel pretty confident going to the top 16. I reckon they want to put a good score up and get the day out of the way.
Yeah.
Put it aside, park it, and if they need to
Ethan was
play
saying
again.
yesterday he just wants to play one game today and that's it.
And I reckon some of them after that are just going to hit the bar.
Yeah.
So Johnny Bond here. Oh, see now it's things like that. That's what I mean by the pixel perfect sort of quality. I'm sure Johnny was able to read that angle going up that ladder. Played it enough time. And this area down on where we can see where Johnny Bond is here on the direct feed, where he's under that Tom's foot about there. I've heard people refer. No, it's more to the ladder behind him on the left. It's been referred to by some players as the drop zone, which is this. It's identifiable a vertical drop which you can't really defend yourself against. So it's a no-go area.
Yeah.
So through the day, I think prior knowledge of this game is pretty essential. The way I've explained to people, it's like trying to explain cricket to an American, without some knowledge of what's going on.
Yeah.
And of course, the little.
So Johnny kill screened at Bartronica, I think, a couple of years ago. Was the first person at the arcade bar in Melbourne. Was the first person to kill screen there. And then the first kill. We've only had one kill screen here, which was Barra on this day last year. About 4 in the afternoon, I think he did our first and only kill screen. But I'm pretty sure we'll see another one today. Ethan's looking pretty good. He's about to get through most of the way through level 4.
I reckon I'm guessing that Johnny and Ethan are probably both going to try and put their game up now.
Yeah.
They're not fiddling around. Can you see where? I don't have to wear glasses, my optometrist says. I should have got a monocle. What is that? 900? Is that 94?
Yeah. They're both on a pretty even pace actually, 94 and 99.
Yeah.
So they're both running pretty evenly, both on level 4. Actually, they're on the same level right now.
All right.
So that's pretty fortuitous.
We've got a head-to-head. We might stick on these for a while. What do you reckon, Jimmy?
That's a bit of luck.
So if we look at, both seem to be doing the star pattern, which I'll try and get a better explanation of next time we come to Riverport.
Johnny's left the bottom one there, which is that's a bit of an anomaly, a bit of a morning, morning, Mr. Wade. How are you, brother? Andrew, Billy.
Is that Jason
Billy
Wade?
No, Chris Wade, pinball player. No, Billy's still well loved, mate. That's good, Mr. Wade. Are you coming in today, man? You're going to throw down a score? We've got direct feed on the right, got some cameras on a few other machines. Yeah, we're pretty happy with how stable it is.
So we're now at level 5 with Johnny Bond on the direct feed here. Now Ethan.
Beg your pardon, mate? Just try the stage or something. They'll be safe.
Just touch them up the back.
Yeah, they'll be safe, mate. Yeah, Billy's got 1 million points a couple of times in the last few months, I believe. So he's crushing.
Billy
Mitchell.
Oh, Billy Mitchell, yeah. Billy will be on tomorrow in the morning. This time tomorrow is the plan.
I wonder what did you get there? 285 or something? 35.7. Yes. Nice, bro.
So we're now at a.
Yeah. Richie just got a 285, so it's pretty tight. He'll be pretty comfortable with that.
Yeah.
I might jump out soon and start putting some scores into match play so we can all keep up.
Will you jump out when you want? I might get Richie on.
Yeah. I'm going to start putting some scores in so you guys can check out match play live shortly. The standings will look weird. The standings are just 0 to 100 down. But if you go into the scores tab, you can see the scores that I'm putting in. I'm going to get a beer. Do you want a beer or a water or anything?
Oh, maybe just a water, thanks, mate.
Yeah.
Just grab. Oh, Richie, come grab a seat, mate.
Hello,
And
Phil.
Richie Michael.
How are you?
Yeah, good, yeah. So Richie, we've got Johnny Bond.
Excuse me, legs for a second.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay. Go ahead.
You're after something.
Yes,
All right.
but I realized that you wanted to talk as well.
Yeah, that's good. So Richie, on the left here we've got Ethan Daniels, and we've got on the right the direct feed. We've got Johnny Bond. They're both head to head at the moment. Well, not that they know it, but they're both the same level.
That's fantastic.
So I imagine they're both probably trying to put a game in early. Like you just put a score of 200,
287, but
287.
it was just a first try run. I'll do at least a 600 this
Now,
weekend.
you sort of unofficially have the lowest kill screen score.
Oh, really?
Isn't that true? In the
Oh,
world?
I don't know.
You don't know?
I don't know.
Not as that's not a bad thing. Like it's still a kill screen, but you're a kill screener in Donkey Kong,
Yeah.
so it must be about 800,000.
Yeah, 860.
860. But it's not on Donkey Kong Forum. I think there was a.
No, I don't submit anything to. You know how they say on Ready Player One?
Oh yeah.
I don't clan up.
You don't.
I don't clan up.
You don't clan up.
You won't see me submit a score to Donkey Kong 4.
Yeah, but you're a clan member of the Donkey Kong world.
Oh
You're
yeah,
the founding
yeah.
father.
I have friends, but I don't clan up. Like I'll never submit a score to Twin Galaxies as long as I live.
Hey, while I've got you here, Richie. Now you play enough Donkey Kong. Here we are on the springs or elevators. Now let's see if we can identify a long spring and a short spring. Now we're going to see you know how to do this, don't you?
Yeah, of course.
So on the direct feed here, where that spring's landing on the first foot of Kong on the left foot,
Yeah,
when
short,
when it's
short.
short,
Long.
there it is, long. So
That's where it should have been.
Yeah. So this is what the players are looking for.
Yep, long right
Another
there.
long. There he
Sure
goes.
went.
Up.
Oh,
There's another long one now. Up.
but here I really take chances. Who is that on the right?
That's Johnny Bond.
Johnny Bonds. He's playing very safe.
He knows what he's doing. But here we go. And this is a
Very
start.
safe.
The prime knowledge I'm talking about. If you don't know to look for that, you think, what's he doing? Why is he doing?
Yeah, why is he doing that?
So I think those who aren't as comfortable with the Donkey Kong gameplay and thinking, what's he doing? What's he just keep moving? Once you know what to look for, like any sport. And I'm going to call it a sport. It becomes far more entertaining. So here we can see, we'll see Johnny on the direct feed here. He'll be steering boards. Johnny Bond from Denmark. So he's grouped those two together. Now the interesting about steering boards is if running towards a ladder will steer. There we go. We just steered those two. So like running towards a ladder to the barrel coming towards it will push it down that. Not always, but that's the idea.
Yeah, I think as the game progresses, the percentage of being successful increases.
Yeah.
So you cannot steer the barrels as well on the first four
Yeah,
until you get like up to level 5,
Yeah,
level
level
4.
5 is at
then
the
you
start,
can
yeah.
you can control them. I think it's 80-something% of the time.
Oh, that much.
I could be wrong. Somebody out there smarter than I, correct me, fact check me. But that's what I think.
No, that is. I've been doing the research from other Donkey Kong players. So you're spot on, Richie. You've got it right. So, I don't know if it's 80%, but
I think it's
levels
better than 80%.
levels 1 to 4 barrels. For a lot of people, it's just a survival game. Get through, no point pressing. Level 5 onwards, you can steer the barrels. But other parts of the game become a bit more difficult. The fireballs become more aggressive.
Yeah, the fireballs.
Yeah, the springs move quicker.
I had good luck on the fireballs. I had bad luck on everything else.
I tend to have just bad luck on everything when I try and play this game. So here we're going to see, as you see on the rivets here on Johnny's game, what's known as the weave or the star. Now I believe he's doing the star. He's gone out and making out the top one. So this is the star pattern.
I guess that's what I do. Exactly what Johnny Bond is doing is what I do.
Yeah.
I don't know what it's called.
It's called the star. Now Alan Stall is a weave player.
Weave.
Yeah. So the idea is, well, it probably hasn't worked the way he wanted it. You end up trapping the fireballs more to the left, I think, is the idea.
Yes.
But Johnny
Absolutely.
Johnny played something much earlier, which Jimmy pointed out, which was much more dangerous. We managed to get through it, so a bit of freeform maybe going on here.
He's in a little bit of trouble. Oh,
he's lost
he's
a man.
choked.
So and this is the difficulty with the rivets stage. Which I'll try and explain again, but we'll see.
Thank you.
Oh, that's Johnny's game
That's
over.
beautiful.
So I'm sure he'll be playing again. Johnny Bond will.
Yes, he will.
He won't be happy with that. He won't be disappointed, but he won't be sitting on that score. So Richie, second time in Australia.
Back
Love
to
it.
Kong off. Now, I
Love
heard
it here.
I heard swing around a bit more. You're a long way away. There's the mic, so if you don't mind. So, I heard there's talk of a Kong off in Montreal
There's a lot of talk.
and one in London. The London one's been talked for a while, hasn't
Yeah,
it?
the London one is almost a done deal.
Is now who's behind it? Is Tony Temple at all somehow involved in this? No, not that he's a Kong player, but I'm just trying to think of UK players.
No,
I mean, obviously you're involved in it.
yeah, it's hard to. Well, let's say at this point, can't really say much other than it will happen.
Yeah. And what about the Montreal one?
I haven't heard anything about a Montreal one.
How do
You're
I
the
know?
first time I've heard of it.
Oh, right.
I guess maybe
My
they're-
source
maybe
is-
they want to.
Well, Billy was saying it. the other
Oh.
day. Yeah. So maybe it's only just talk. So maybe I'll let the cat out about it.
Yeah, maybe.
But Vincent LeMay may have something to do with it.
That would be great.
Yeah.
I love Vincent.
Yeah.
Vincent, if you're out there, I love you.
Now we were talking earlier. You're playing this weekend on two comps, not just Donkey Kong, but Space Invaders.
Yeah, just to have fun. I haven't touched the Space Invaders cabinet in over a year.
Yeah, but you've got it in your bedroom.
I have it in my bedroom, but I didn't find the time. I tried.
Without going, you've had a rough year though, without raking up
Yes.
old grays. But
Yeah.
it's been pretty boozy, moving arcades and everything else going on.
Yeah, a lot going on.
But you're pretty keen to get that world record back, Space Invaders.
Oh, give me.
No, I'm not saying you are, I'm asking
Give me
you.
at least until my daughter goes to college. Then
Yeah.
I'll take it back.
What's that? 6 years?
Yeah, I don't have time to play games as much as I used to.
Yeah, it becomes late. But you're. I mean, you've just physically moving those cabinets around
All day long. That's
Yeah.
I don't work out anymore, but I'm still pretty buff.
just lifting cabinets.
Well, I'm gonna go. I'm having a nicotine fit. And I cannot find my vape.
You can't smoke in here, man.
Going outside.
Okay, no. Hey, well, I might get something.
I'll be back. Oh, I'll be back.
Yeah.
I love being on camera. You know that.
Cheers, buddy.
See you later, buddy.
Okay, I might get Paul Winitsky on the line. He's going to call in, I think, but I might have to organise that a bit first with Jimmy or Ben. So, Paul, if you're around, I might get you to call in pretty soon. Once I can get hold of Jimmy. Oh, now here we go. There's talk of the Sockmaster. Ethan's playing on a Lucky Australian board. This is I'm not sure if he's actually referring to boards 11, 12, 13 and 14, but there is this theory that PCB's printed circuit boards that are numbered, they're all Nintendo ones are numbered 11 through to 14. I think there might even be a number 6. But the circuit board 11 is meant to be the most difficult, whereas 14 is supposed to be the easiest. And no, sorry, Rudy, I'm not playing. I'm not a Donkey Kong player at all. But the theory is that some are more difficult than others. But talking to those in the know, including Ken House, who who's a computer man, there's no truth to it at all. The ROMs are identical, and the timing components of the game are all identical on those boards. All the original Donkey Kong stuff. It's apparently it has nothing to do with. There's no. And if there is any difference between those boards, it's just inconsequential. There's nothing there. Now, we do want to get Paul Hornitsky on the line. Hey, John Tannehill's come over for a chat.
Hey, Phil.
Hey, John. How are you doing?
Good.
Fans home.
Awesome.
For those who don't recognise the young man next to me, John Tannehill, a current world record on Space Invaders, and he'll be playing in a tournament in the Kong Off this weekend.
I put up my one score. I reckon I'm not going to do much better than that.
Oh, what did you just get?
116.
116,000. But it's funny, like it's you guys who get these scores, you sort of laugh them off a bit. But anyone who plays Donkey Kong,
Well, I think when this place first opened, I walked in, I'd played maybe Donkey Kong once before. Couldn't get past the first screen. Most people, 10,000 is a big score for when you first start playing. And I think over here, they set the benchmark at 40,000. So if you get over 40,000, it's not really too bad. But then when you're surrounded by these people, it's another level.
well, so 40,000. Where would that take you into the game? Not very far.
The first pies. So it's designed to pretty much bring you to the first pie factory stage.
Yeah. So basically, having played the first pie, then you've managed to play. You've witnessed all the boards.
Yes.
There. That's the idea.
Yeah,
Because
that's the idea,
a start would be around 150,000, 100
About
plus.
that, let's get past the end of L5, it's about 150.
Yeah, for those who don't know, the start is when you arrive and accomplish level 5. But to do that, level 1, and you can correct me wrong, level 1 is barrel, then rivet.
Yep.
Level 2 is barrel,
Spring
rivet. Then level 3 is barrel, pie, spring rivet. And then level 5 is barrel. It's always a barrel in between.
barrel. Except
for
for level 4 doesn't have a
it doesn't have
barrel
one
between
for some reason.
spring and rivets, and then level 5 you have all 6.
So level 5 you can it's barrel.
Barrel, pie, barrel, spring, barrel, rivets.
Yeah, and then that's it from then
That's
on.
it from then on.
That's on it. So,
all the way to level 20, 21.
Now when in Australia, because when Donkey Kong came out of Japan, it didn't have that arrangement, and then when it got to the US, they fiddled with it apparently. But Australia never saw many Donkey Kong machines, and Paul Hanitsky will probably verify this for me. It was very much Crazy Kong, which just went. I'm pretty sure it went barrel, rivet, pie. Barrel, elevators, pie, rivet, Crazy Kong.
But Crazy Kong,
I think from the very start, I think you just
Yeah, I
go
think
through
so,
it like that.
yeah.
Yeah. And it was a horrible machine.
the sounds,
Yeah,
the Crazy Kong sounds. Oh, that's
It's the
nightmare.
Galaxian equivalent.
the Galaxian of Donkey Kong.
Yeah. The Galaxian for sound wise. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you've got the Kong off on the Space Invaders game on Monday.
Monday,
Richie.
Space Off. Me and Richie going head to head, have a couple of games.
But he hasn't been playing too much, he said. So
Oh, no, yeah, he said he hasn't been playing the Wall of Death strategy. He's just been playing sort of the normal sort of straight up style. Whereas I've been practicing the Wall of Death. I haven't been practicing the straight up style. But we might have a few games of each style of play, I reckon.
Now here we've just saw someone here on the pies. I think it's Alan Stall actually, and it's often referred to as the Weeby Freebie.
The Weeby Freebie, yeah.
Has nothing to do with Steve Weeby. I don't know why it's the Weeby Freebie.
I thought he was the one that popularised it.
Yeah, I thought so too, but apparently it was just a rhyme. But maybe he did popularise it. Just get through it.
The
right
rhyme
away.
works, though.
Yeah, I like the rhyme. Yeah, it's good one, the Weeby Freebie. So Alan, I was talking
Alan's
about.
million-point game. You might be waiting a while for that one.
Yeah. He certainly wants it, but he said he's not good at point press. Now we're going to see a good example on the rivets here of Alan doing the weave, not the star. So the weave is you go up and knock out all the rivets, take the middle hammer, and then work your way and knock all the fireballs out. This is the weave.
This is the star.
I thought this is the weave.
The weave is where you go directly up, you take out each one when it comes, and then you do the same on the other side. The star is when you leave that bottom one you come across with that.
Oh, okay. Well, I wonder what. Oh, okay. Because this is what I'm still trying to think. Because they're very similar.
Yeah. So the weave, the star. You know the star because they'll skip the second level.
Oh, yeah.
And then leave that to later.
But he only just took the second one out then when he got the hammer.
Yeah, that's
That's
how
still
you do
his
star.
Oh, okay. So maybe he's changed his
The
approach.
weave, I believe you take out the second one on your way up, and then you go all the way up, and then you just take out one side, and then you do the other side.
Well, it'll be good to get it identified for sure by the end of the weekend. We'll get that sorted.
No, I'm going off what Barrett told me.
I'm not disagreeing with you. It's just they seem so similar. But it looks like he's done it well. Well, obviously all the barrels are trapped on the fireballs, or the firefoxes are trapped on the left.
Well, it'd be interesting to see who over this weekend, if there's anyone that plays different play styles. Who plays the weave, who plays the star.
Well, from the bit of talk I've had, stars become the dominant approach.
yeah.
The weave has sort of become somewhat outdated strategy.
Who would have thought that would get so far in video games that certain strategies would be discarded for not being efficient enough?
Well, I was just saying earlier, or you were talking about, or someone was talking about, maybe you were talking about today. You were saying this morning that in Japan they really frown upon the wall of death, or death row in Space Invaders. They sort of, if you do that, it's kind of like cheating.
Well, that's what I gathered from Richie. Yeah. So they still count their shots. You can still count your shots, get your 300 mystery ships, but.
Yeah. But you've got to go free play. You've got to go free form.
Yeah, you got free form.
And I think I could imagine that happening with Donkey Kong. Eventually, you'll see someone do something without point. Like people are going to applaud some type of game. Yeah. So here we go. Here's the pies, which are meant to be bags of cement, but I always thought they were pies.
Yeah, it is the cement factory.
Oh, there we go. going
They
for the...
released the there's a Game and Watch called Mario Cement Factory, which I always assumed was, you know, a reference to this.
I'm just trying to wonder if this is Alan Stall we're watching. I'm watching his machine over there. I can't see it.
I think it is.
It is. It must have a just slight delay coming through. I might have to ask.
No, it can't be Alan's because we're ahead of him.
Oh, okay. So yeah, so that we haven't been watching Alan Stall. We've still got to get this. We've got to get the numbering down for DK Cabs. So I might get Jimmy over and find out what they are.
Ethan's having a good game here on the camera.
Yeah, he's
as
been
well.
going for a while there. I reckon he'll want to put a good score up and then forget about the day.
Yeah. Was this chosen to have?
Yeah, he
The race is now between Estelle and Ethan for the perhaps for the first kill
Yeah.
streak.
Well, Ethan's a good example of how the time required to become a good Donkey Kong player. He said it took about, on average 4 to 6 months to do a kill screen, like from coming from scratch, not having played. Said there are people who can do it in 3 to 4 weeks, but then you'd have to look at hours spent and things like that. But he certainly knows I think anyone who's playing up around that million point, which is a big difference from 800,000, it seems. That extra 200,000 you have to point press for.
Yeah.
So here I was saying before, for those to identify a long and a short, we saw that long spring come in there between the legs of Kong. And these things to look for. Otherwise, you wonder why they're dawdling.
Yeah.
Just excuse me for a second. Jimmy, might try and get Paul Panitsky in soon. So if I just give him the message, do you have to do something at this end, or
Yeah, I've got to answer it. So we can do that easy enough.
do you want to do that now?
Call.
Okay. Are you ready to take the call in?
It'll just come up.
Okay. And we got video capture device 2. How do I identify this cab here? Sorry, everyone who's listening in. We're still just. How do I identify this cabinet down here? Like what number cabinet?
I'm not going to change any of this for most of the day.
So who's this cabinet?
Cab 1.
Oh, that's here. Oh, down further.
Andrew Barrett.
Andrew Barrett. Oh, so Andrew Barrett on cab 1 and Ethan Daniels on. And this is cab.
This one.
And what number's that one? Cab 5. Right.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Sorry, John, you can have a chat. I said I'd get him in.
Alright.
I'll
be back?
Yeah. Be good to have you back on again, John.
Yep.
No, because I said I'd call him between 10 and 11, that's all. I just said I'd call him between 10 and 11. Yeah. Cheers, buddy. So you'll probably call now. Sorry, those listening in, just going to try and get Paul Hornitsky to call in. Just
How are you?
I've got something. I just don't want to fiddle with it. Just it's our first call in, so we're just going to get this set up. So nice and smooth. You've got two top players playing at the moment. Andrew Barrett there on the live feed on the right, and Ethan Daniels on the bottom left there. So the right's a direct feed from the cabinet. So imagine both these players put up a score, get the other way today. I feel so these two guys are definitely going to be in the top 16 tonight. So you Paul try and call?
Yeah.
Good call. Ready to take the call. Are you ready?
Are you able to sign up?
Yeah, by Skype. I sent you the link to your messenger on Facebook.
Nice, brother.
Yeah, no, just I'll just check with you. Is Skype up and running now? Yeah. Yep, it's up and running. And I gave you the. You've got the address there, haven't you? No worries. We're here, so you just call it. Seeing some saw Barrow lose a man there on the direct feed, but seeing some good navigation through those barrels. I think the barrel board is a truly fantastic game in itself. Regardless of opinions about Donkey Kong in general, but the barrel board is a real challenging game. There's a lot of skill required. It's so unforgiving. So yeah, from level 5 out, you'll see players steering those barrels. You'll see clear evidence of steering barrels. I'm sure everyone who's tuned in knows enough about steering barrels, but just in case, essentially running towards a ladder can cause the barrels to come down that ladder, come down the ladder in that direction. So as I say before, where those springs are landing around Kong's feet, the one that lands on his foot is a short, and the one that lands between will be a long. And it's the long one they're looking for. So you can see Barrow waiting here on the direct feed for that long look, didn't like it, and then he took the next one. It's a pretty quick little action there, but for those who don't, it looks pretty ordinary if you're not sure what's going on. So here we'll see him steering the barrels. Now the interesting thing is, I wasn't aware of this, is that steering the barrel steers all the barrels, or potentially steers all the barrels that are above Mario or Jumpman. So we'll see a lot of point pressing now. Now that's, some people refer to the drop zone, where that barrel just drops directly down. There's no real defence for that at all. You just got to just not be in that zone, so you'll see people avoiding it. It's interesting how well these guys play. They're so used to the pattern of behaviour that and the speed at which Mario's moving at to the barrels, they preempt these dangers. And I can only imagine playing it at the very bottom, when they've got their Mario at the bottom of the board. They must be looking much higher up at the board to control those barrels and group them together. And it's on this rivet, so I'm most interested in to try and get a better explanation of whether this is the star or the weave. So if he leaves that one out, which he has, this is the star pattern, the way of finishing. So they take out all these rivets on the left and leaving the bottom one. And the theory is then they take the hammer, and then when they knock them out, the fire foxes or fire barrels, they'll respawn on the left-hand side, as we saw one there spawn, so they're coming up and they're already locked off from the game. So you knock out as many as you can, leaving fewer to have to navigate around. So those two on the left are now no longer in play, and this next hammer hopefully will clear a path for Barrow so he can make his way to the top. Let's see if it works for him, and then pick up some points on the way. And there's another thing we'll have to point out later, is that it's the second and fourth Firefox or Fire Barrel. When it spawns, it has a particular behaviour which is known as the freeze. So we'll try and identify that later on. I think we've got Paul Malitsky on the line. Not sure if Paul can hear me yet. Can you hear me, Paul? I can see Paul, but I can't hear you. I'll just wait a minute. Said it's our first call in. So we've got a few people calling over the weekend, only one today, and then 3 tomorrow. Including Jeff Harris, Mr. Donkey Kong Forum himself, which will be interesting to chat. He knows a lot of the younger talent coming through, some of the young teenage players coming through in Donkey Kong, which I'm sure interesting to see where they take the game. So it looks like from what I can tell with my little, I can hear you. I can hear you, Paul.
You can?
I can hear Paul, but Paul doesn't seem to be able to hear me yet. Sorry guys, just talking across everything here, just trying to get Paul on. Paul, can you hear me at all? You can barely hear me. It's
Okay.
really soft.
Just gonna have to switch.
Is that better? Is that better now? Oh.
I won't this bounce.
I can hear you really clear. It's not a problem. Can anyone tuned in? Can they hear Paul speaking? Can you hear Paul Hanitsky? I've got someone on the line. Just wants to know if you can hear him as well. Paul, if you can just say something friendly. No, they can't hear you, Paul, for some reason. Nothing coming out of the right speaker. Yeah,
I haven't really captured.
nothing coming out of the right speaker. It's amazing actually the amount of technical stuff going on that we can even get this going. We've got direct feeds and cameras capturing over the top, and camera on me, camera on the room. And we've got 8 machines hooked up that we can move around on. Sorry about this, Paul. We're just going to have to labour on and see if we can figure it out. While we're waiting, I might as well keep some commentary going on Barrow's game here, which is pretty exciting, and feel free to join in, Paul. I can hear you, Paul, but even if you're talking, it'll give a chance for Jimmy to sort of get the audio sorted out, so we can just start talking anyway, Paul. So good to have you on. Now I don't think Paul can hear me. I think Paul's frozen.
No, he's there.
Paul, can you hear me?
I don't know why it's just not captured.
Yeah, sorry, Paul. Not sure why it's what's going on. Sorry, Paul. I'll just keep on some commentary. But feel happy to join in. Feel free to join in, Paul, if you can, and maybe just you talking. We can get a bit of an idea what's going on. If you can hear me.
Can people hear him talking?
No one can hear Paul talking either. It'd be better to let Paul go and get the call back. Or...
Yeah.
Paul, I might let you go and we'll see and let Jimmy work with it. We'll try and call you back as soon as we've got something sorted out. Paul, can you hear me? Paul, can you hear that at all? It seems like it's frozen.
Knows.
Yeah, Paul, if you can, that's me. Yeah, sorry, Paul. Jimmy and I were just talking. Maybe we'll let you hang up now, and we'll try and call you back as soon as we get it technically figured out. Just If that's all right. Yeah, no worries. No worries, mate. Yep. Yeah, cheers, buddy. Can you disconnect your Skype? Yeah, just disconnect and we'll try. Just disconnect and we'll try and sort it out soon. Cheers, buddy. Sorry about that. Cheers, mate. Bye. Sorry about that, guys. Just a few technical things to try and smooth out, so we'll get back to watching the two games on play. As you can see, we've got the names up now, which is good. Ethan Daniels on the left there and Andrew Barrow on the right. Pretty sure they're pretty familiar players. Ethan Daniels is, well ranked up there. I think Ethan, I think he might be 20. No, is he as much as 20 something in the world? I'll just. I think he's 23 in the world, ranked 23. And Andrew Barrow is, what might seem considerably like 34, but that's certainly well up.
Right, thanks, man.
So we've got so I'm just a bit distracted. We're just sorting out Scott. What was that? It's working here, is it? Anyways, just still trying to sort out Skype. So anyway, going back to this, Ethan Daniels, Andrew Barrow. Ethan Daniels at 23 in the world, and Andrew Barrow's at 34. But between them, it's about 400,000 points. Ethan Daniels is 1.4 million, and Andrew Barrow's 1 million. I'm not even sure it's 1,100,000. I think it's just short of that. Anyway, both million-point players. So certainly be able to see some good gameplay on these two on the screen at the moment with these two players. I tend to be focused on Andrew Barrow's game a bit more just because it's a bit bigger on the screen. But I might try and cover some of Ethan's in a minute if I can. So we're well past the start here. So as I was saying before, the repetition of behaviour, the layout of these boards will continue through to the end or through to the kill screen, or if they reach that far. And I think we watch Barrow's board here now. If we can see him steering the barrels there, as we saw him there, steering those two barrels down on the left, that flicking back and forth isn't a hesitation, it's an attempt to move those barrels down later. Now you'll also notice as barrels pass the player, except for the fireball barrels, the blue ones, they roll away from the screen, so they're not controlling the barrels once they're past them. But if you do go back down and jump one, they'll remain active within the game. Provided you keep going down, to reach them. So if we watch that barrel there, we might not see it, and there it rolls off. So we watch these barrels as they go past, they roll away. It's an interesting part of the programming. It seems as though the cause for steering barrels was to try and make the game more difficult. But it became an exploit for players. So the idea is, by moving towards a ladder would force the barrels to come down that ladder. But the programs didn't think that the players would become aware of this and start using it to steer them away or grouping them together. So as we saw there, those who were listening before, we see this a really clear execution of the star pattern, from what I understand, is to knock out those three rivets but not the second highest one, trapping the firefoxes on the left-hand side screen. They're often called firefoxes or fire barrels. Apparently they officially are firefoxes, but I don't know how true that is. And we'll see Barrow capture the hammer here, the upper hammer, and knock out these fire barrels. I must decide to call them fire barrels or fire. I think I'll call them fire foxes. It sounds kind of more exotic. And it looks like he's got a safe passage home here to just knock out that last rivet. And when you see it done like that, it seems like it's quite an easy thing to do, but there's a lot of funny little nuances in the rivet stage. So when I come back round to it, I'll try and explain what those things are. Or if Paul Hornitsky's on the, if we can get him on the Skype pretty soon, I'm sure he can explain it much better than I. One of the great gamers out there, sort of string of scores on many different titles. I'm sure he can fill us in with some of those. He probably won't want to spend his time listing all of them. And he's also the current organiser for the MGL, doing a huge job there with players from all over the world.
Let's try Paul again.
So you see there Barrow steering the barrels again, jumping backwards. That little jump backwards, I've had a fiddle around to try and do that, and it's the precision, it's the unforgivingness of Donkey Kong that's so uncomfortable, like that jumping back to make sure that time is just right on the movement, you know, in the direction you want to move and hitting the fire button. There's just doesn't seem to be very little leeway in it. Now this here on the pie factory or cement factory or whatever you choose to call it is we just saw this what's referred to as mentioned before the Weeby freebie, and maybe making these points again and again for a while just to let people know tuning in, the Weeby freebie. Apparently John Tanner was suggesting that was credit to him because he was someone who employed that rather than trying to find any points on the board. Either way, it's a nice rhyme and describes quite accurately what to do, but there are some players now who are point pressing on the Weeby freebie. I think all world records above, but not including Wes Copeland's, from what I understand, have point pressed it on the pie factory, from what I understand.
If Paul can hear you, ask him to turn on his video.
Hey Paul, if you can hear me, turn your video on. Sorry Paul, if you can hear me, turn your video on. I can hear you perfectly. Turn your video on, Paul. I think we've got you. No, I'm not getting a picture. Can everyone hear Paul though talking? Paul, just give us the alphabet. See if we can get.
Oh, got him.
Yeah. No, Paul. Hang on, just now, Paul. Just say something so we've got a bit of audio going. What did you have for breakfast, Paul? Say again. What did you have for breakfast?
Good morning, everybody. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Hey, hi Paul. Someone's saying hi. Hey all.
I had Cheerios for breakfast, of course.
Cheerios. Now we hear perfectly. Okay, we've got Paul Hornitsky on the line. Game legend for various reasons. String of scores, too many to number or too many to mention. You can probably give us the number of scores of games you play there, Paul. And also the current organiser, MGL. Great to have you on, Paul. Beer for breakfast. See you there, Paul?
No, that's fantastic. Thank you very much.
No worries. I think we've got a bit of lag, so I might have to leave a bit of delay for Paul to answer, so there might be little bits of silence in between. So, Paul, I thought there's a lot of things we can talk about.
Lag.
Yeah, a bit of lag, but that's okay. We can deal with that. So, Paul, second Kong off in Australia, live tournament. You're no stranger to live, or no stranger to tournaments within the video game community.
Yeah, well, I'd like to tell you that this is a fantastic tournament that we've got at the Kong Off right now. It's probably the greatest event in Australia at the moment. It's just fantastic that it's being held in Queensland at the moment, and the rest of the world can watch.
Yeah, and it's genuinely a international tournament. We've got players from the US, of course, Australia, New Zealand, the UK, and Europe. We've got Johnny Bond here from Denmark.
It's a international tournament, and it's fantastic to have, say, the top 7 out of the 100 from the Donkey Kong Forum in Australia playing at Neverworld. It's also just fantastic that all of us can actually watch this live. So having Benjamin Nichols and James Anglers providing this tournament is fantastic. Having Richie out as well is a the beginners. And this is what needs to happen, I think, in this country and other countries as well. So it's really fantastic. It's a shame Robbie Lake couldn't make it out this year. That's a bit of a shame. What we've got is a great contingent and a great set of gamers and players to see how we go. So I'm really excited about it. It's day one. We're what? 2 or 3 hours into the tournament. It's a 12-hour day today, and then we've got the finals tomorrow. So it's really, really exciting. I've got my Donkey Kong shirt on, as you can see. So we're big fans of the game. Great game from Nintendo, and wonderful, wonderful gamers from all over the world. It's just great to have everyone out here.
Yeah, agreed, Paul. It is the atmosphere here is. I mean, it's only not quite 11 in the morning in Brisbane, or maybe just on 11, and the atmosphere has been fantastic, even from as early as 10. And I'm sure it's only going to get more and more people through the day. And of course, through the day, we'll see more and more competitions arising between sort of, try and make that top 16 tomorrow. And yeah, it's with we're saying earlier, some of the lineup of players with Andrew Barrow from New Zealand, and a 1 million point player, and Ethan and Estelle from the US, both 1 million point players. I think there's going to be a lot of like those. There's no guarantees those top three are going to be the final top three scores. With a string of 900, 800,000 players beneath them. I think this Australian Commonwealth this year, it's going to be pretty unsure who's going to be those final three, wouldn't you think? There's just a bit of lag.
Well, put it this way, if you look at the Commonwealth history, there's been 6 Commonwealths in America, and there's been 1 Australian Commonwealth last year. And the playoffs of those tournaments, the Commonwealth 5, 6 and AKO 1, find that the first seed has only won the tournament once. So that's 1, 7, 4. That was Rob in Commonwealth 6. Who sixth for 4 take the championship. Robbie Latham came in second in Commonwealth 5 and took that out. And then Shane Saul, he came in 4th last year in Commonwealth. And so, the top of the ladder in the last 4 since the playoffs have been introduced since Commonwealth 4. There's no guarantees. And I think it's a really good chance to have it go from, say, just high scores to a playoff, to another dimension of it's one-on-one game, 1 coin drop. It's incredibly exciting, and I love it. It's great to watch, and I think all the fans out there enjoy it as well.
Yeah, agreed, Paul. And it is a funny one. Like, my feelings towards Donkey Kong haven't always been positive as a spectator's game, but as I've been looking into it in preparation for this Kong-Off, once you identify all those little nuances and understand them much better, it's actually quite an exciting game to watch. It's just knowing where those things are, those things to look for. Like we're here on the riverboard with Barrow again, and which I haven't talked about yet, but identifying the freeze on those barrels, like barrel 2 and barrel 4, understanding the weave and the star approach, the strategy used there to finish off the rivets, and which is true through all the stages. And once you know what those things are, it does give a much deeper appreciation of this game as a spectator game to watch, and a much deeper appreciation for the level of skill that these players have.
The level of skill you need to play this game is really huge. I mean, if you look at the number of players who can play it really well, it isn't really that many when you look at the total numbers at Donkey Kong Forum or even at TG. So I think what's really important is that if you really want to do well at Donkey Kong, practice. You've got to know about the barrels, probability of them changing direction, trying to maximise points. You know about the kill screen, and if you the acrobatics like Saglio did many years ago in the Con-Off, where he maximised the points, and players doing that since that revelation, it's been very, very fascinating. And it's interesting that Dean Saglio, I think, is the player who scored the highest score in this format. We've got 16 players, so this is the first time ever we've got 16 in the playoffs. Previously it's been 8. It's really exciting to have 16 play it all out, and I wonder if the number one will win, and the odds are that they probably won't. So if I look at the field, if I look at Ethan Daniels, Estelle, Andrew Barrow, they're all 1 million point scorers, so they're the only ones in the tournament that have it. Shane Sawyer scored a 918k PB. He took out the current champion of the Con-Off in Australia, and I think he's one to watch, definitely. He's got the games, done it before, and I think he's a big favourite himself. But kids trying all the time to win a tournament, do well. It's got on streams on Facebook. It's good. And Tony Brown from Denmark is fantastic. He's video games, so what more can you have than that? And then you've got Mark Gibby, who's best. We've got a whole host of players out there as well who can do really well. Playoffs came in place, and first time ever in a Con-Off playoff, first time ever, the first league loss. That was it. So anything can happen in the playoff, it makes it interesting. We've got Shane Tag who's out there as well. Quite competent today. And you know, personally, Tesla, so they're just some of the players we can talk about. There's many others who are very competent. There's Bird, who's come out all the way from Tasmania. He's just learned how to play Donkey Kong. He's a Mr. expert. Ethan and Esther, very good standing Shane. I think those and might just without chance to continue to repeat.
I could exactly so, Paul. I lost a bit of your audio there. It was a bit fuzzy at times, so I might just try and reiterate quickly some of the things you said. Well, there was a lot to be said, but essentially put, those who might have missed that was the essential bits were just the number of players who have been drawn through to this game now and competing on it, and the sort of talent that's available and the skills that they're carrying from other games into this one, into Donkey Kong. It's a game that just seems to not want to die, essentially. Like everyone thought that Donkey Kong was going to lay down after it hit 1.1 million. That just hasn't been the case. You know, we're seeing close to 1.3 now. It looks like McCurdy's going to take Lakeman's score. And it's hard to imagine there's going to be many points after that, but we just don't know who's bringing what to the game. They're point pressing on the Pie Factory now. Maybe there'll be things to be discovered there. And it's also some of the players out there, and hopefully when Paul can elaborate on this a bit more, hopefully his mic's a bit clearer. But it's players like Jeff Wilms is one of interest to mine. Like his performance at the Con-Offs in the US has been pretty amazing. Yet he's a main player, he's not used to playing on a cabinet, and at one of the Con-Offs he actually won a cabinet, which apparently from Ethan Daniels, who's good friends with him, it's still wrapped up in bubble wrap in his garage. He still plays on main. So you just sort of wonder that there could be players out there who aren't competing in these tournaments, or just for whatever reason aren't submitting scores. But gradually, as it gets more momentum, it seems to be bringing more players out of the woodworks and attracting more players to it. It just seems to be one of those games that people don't seem to feel exhausted on it. Or those who do exhaust themselves on it, they've achieved their personal goals, but there always seems to be more to want to come back to it. And I was just wondering with you, Paul, in the MGL, you must see a lot of, you see a lot of the results and players more than most of us would. There must be some young talent coming through, or new talent coming through on the MGL of Donkey Kong players or games in general that we really should be looking out for.
Well, put it this way, Andrew Barrow, which I think most of the world knows right now, he's been playing the job for 5 years. So he's a product of the tournament, and credit to him, he's a world champion now on Galaga. He's also so fantastic at Donkey Kong. So he's a 1 million point player, and that's fantastic.
Yeah, I think Barrow, as we've talked about on numerous occasions, Paul, if we're going by Twin Galaxies, I think he's got 123 world records, and as you know, as many do and many probably don't realise, he's the number one main player in the world, and certainly on people's top 10 lists around the world. And you've got to wonder how much of that is credit to the MGL. Like, it's one thing to play those games, but find stiff competition to play against. And he's certainly active in the MGL. He's active on MAME. New Zealand, for those who aren't that familiar with the size of the country, it's a very small populated country, and the opportunity to play on cabinets isn't available to Barrow. So here he comes over. Like last year, he came to the Kong off, took the second high score then on Galaga tournament, and all through MAME, and I imagine so all through the MGL as well. A place to actually participate and get better at games. He's certainly not a one-trick pony. He's not a jack of all trades, master of none. He's a master of a hell of a lot of games, and I think the MGL must play a big part in that.
Put this way, let me explain this to you. Look, most people cannot get to an arcade machine. I mean, if you look at the billions of people on the planet, who can get to one? There are very, very few. So, MAME gives you the opportunity to compete against these players. I mean, Dean Saglio came through the woodwork to play actually in Kong-offs, and he's a fantastic player. And if we other players that you mentioned before, who are they? Like Jason Vasilov, he's a fantastic player. He played one MGL, won the title. We've had Clay Karchevsky from Canada, who's a wonderful player, won 2 championships. We've had Chris Clementi, who's playing extremely well at the moment. He's won 2 MGLs at the moment, and he's from New Jersey. Daniel Larson, he's the world champion of esports last year. Played over 4 tournaments, brilliant player. These are all new generation players, and we've had Ken House play, we've had Donald Hayes play on TikTok. It was fantastic to have those two played out. They played on hard setting, won live, and Ken House took that win. We've had several other players that are coming out, so it's more than just what we call the old school, it's all the new players. And I would like to say Wes Copeland, Robbie Lakeman, Jeff Williams, Vincent LeMay, they're all what I call new players. They're not players from, say, 7 to 10 years ago. And Hank Sheen also is a fantastic player. So this theme is about Donkey Kong. Donkey Kong is a legendary game. It's got a fantastic following. Why is it great? It's because the people make it great. And the NGL, which is the main gaming league, is for arcade players and main players, and it's the way for the whole world to play. That's how we get from Denmark, Wales, England, Germany. I've even had players in Poland to come and play. And I just went to Japan to see if I could spread the NGL to Japan, and maybe I'll have some exciting news on that early next year.
Yeah, it's quite a feat what you and the NGL are doing, and the attention that it does draw. And I think it's the thing that I find really positive. I mean, there's so many positive aspects of what you're doing in MGL, but particularly the MAME side of it. I think that MAME has a democratic approach. Like, it's very difficult for people to have cabinets all over the world. US is a lot more afforded the opportunity because cabinets are much more available, much bigger population. But finding a cabinet in Australia is difficult. You talk to Canadian players, even that can be difficult. But once you get to the outside of North America, they just become more and more scarce. And the level of emulation on MAME now, when you talk to people, and you mentioned his name, Ken House, they'll tell you that the emulation, it's spot on. Like on many of the titles, there might be some that it's a bit not as accurate. I don't know like what those titles are, but as far as the popular titles, they'll tell you there isn't a difference. And if there is a difference, generally I find in my conversation with people, they'll say that it's even harder. Than if there is some sort of notable differences, it doesn't make the game easier at all. Which brings me to, as you mentioned before, with Dean Saglio, if the Donkey Kong Forum had been formed earlier than it was, Dean Saglio held that world record for Donkey Kong for many years before it was beaten. But because MAME hasn't been given the credit where I believe it's due, his score hasn't been acknowledged as readily as it should have been. And I'd love to see more forums, even with the Lager Forum and others, to start put those scores together and just do away with the MAME arcade division. The petition of that, I think, is unnecessary. I think it's good to identify the platform for the purists out there who like that idea, but I'd like to see all the scoreboards blended into one, all the leaderboards blended, arcade to MAME, across the board. I don't know how you feel about that, Paul, but I'd be curious to see what your thoughts are.
Well, I think with MAME and arcade, as far as I'm concerned, they're just the same. There are very few exceptions. Very few. They do exist. There are very few exceptions where the MAME version and the arcade version are not the same. But I would say 99.9% are actually the same. And we've had a lot of discussion about this off-air, you and I, Phil, and look, again, it's arcade. MAME is arcade emulation. Arcade machines are arcade. They're the same thing. So I don't have a problem with it. I don't see an issue with it, how people are trying to separate it. It's just it's a smoke screen at the moment. Part of the reason why it was separated was to protect world records. The guys with arcade machines, how are you going to beat these guys if you can't get to the arcade machine? You can't. It's a closed shop. So the whole idea is to throw that idea out the window and just play games worldwide, get the whole population playing, and whether it's MAME or arcade, which is the same damn thing, they use the same ROMs, that will identify who the players will be and the enjoyment, and we get the whole world involved.
Exactly so, Paul. I think that, and I think my feeling it's moving in that direction. Speaking to Doc Mack recently, like, he now has Arcade under his belt, and he'll be relaunching soon. The opportunity to go and put scores up quickly, not having to do video submissions, doing them in, verified, like arcades that are willing to adhere to the strict rules of competition scores. And then with the MGL, that could easily sort of, bring those players in. The more it becomes connected, obviously more fun, but as far as competition, we're going to get a more accurate idea of who those players are out there who can put good scores up. And as you said, capturing a score or video for submission on an arcade machine has various complexities, but now we have things like Twitch. Scores can be played on Twitch. They're tracked, they're recorded. it just streamlines this so much easier. You can do the same with arcade, but it still requires another camera and all these other sort of nuances. But I think the sooner that petitioning of arcade MAME is removed, we're going to see just more competitive gameplay and a more inclusive game culture in retro arcade gaming, which is, and I think, credit to you, Paul, we've seen that, and that's growing. Like you said, people like Ken House, Robbie Lakeman, so I think you mentioned Wes Copeland, and of course people, on my side of the Galaga side of things, like people like Armando Gonzalez, again another one who's new to the scene, but certainly not an older player in that regard. He's from the day, as they like to say, and he had no hesitation at putting his score onto the MGL, which was fantastic. And I really do see, maybe for the, as it's often referred to, the golden age of video gaming, in the arcade sense, was the early 80s. I think that may be true in the game invention, but I think now is the golden age for players. We're seeing scores that were never dreamed of back in the early 80s. We've really got the genuine competition internationally occurring now, and hopefully it'll grow from strength to strength thanks to people like yourself.
Brought up an excellent point about world records being broken today. Look, these games are over 30 years old, and we've had some wonderful players and great champions get scores. But what I'm finding, especially through the MGL, is players developing new skills, finding new blood, who actually beat the world records. I mean, you look at Lauren Featherstone, right? She beat the Tapper world record. And she's a woman as well, which is a fantastic thing for the game. And if you look at, say, Andrew Barrow putting on new scores for Gallagher, Armando Gonzalez, he's quite new to the game. All the Donkey Kong players, perhaps in the top 5, are all new as far as I'm concerned. And Donkey Kong is a great game. But if you look at all the titles that are out there, they're all being played. There's a new life or a new blood coming through into gaming. And this is probably one of the best things in a video gaming sport. And as I said to you before, the MGL is really trying to be the binding force for all arcades across America, Australia, England, and all of the players who have a PC who can play in MAME, for example, who can't get to an arcade. The whole idea is to bind the video gaming universe so that we can all enjoy gaming and definitely enjoy events like this wonderful Kong-Off that's happening at Netherworld in Fortitude Valley.
Yeah, 100%, Paul. Exactly what you're saying, as we can see here on the screen now, is evidence of that. As the live feed's coming through on Neil Cairns playing, I believe he still is the current Wonder Boy world record holder. And again, a newcomer as well, a new face to the video game community, and he bought a title that maybe many had just forgotten about, or maybe it wasn't being just competed on as much. And now that he has the score, I'm sure someone's probably looking at it and wanting to take it again. And who knows, you just don't know what games are out there that, if we can draw attention to them, or as people just gravitate to them, things will start building up around them. But Neil here playing is, I think, a really clear example of exactly what you said. Like someone who may not have, even bothered to submit a score if it wasn't for the opportunity of MAME and the MGL and other events like that.
Well, you're spot on about Neil, and I'm watching his game live on the feed on the Netherworld Twitch, and look, he's not one of the higher-ranked players in Donkey Kong, but it's great to have a Wonder Boy champion actually playing the game. It's a bit like the Gallagher champion in Andrew Barrow. He's playing Donkey Kong, though he's very confident, which is fantastic. But what I want to ask you also, Phil, is who are your tips? Who would you say are the top 3 players who are probably going to take this championship out?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying you're asking the wrong person, but I can only really go by personal best scores, which is going to be, of course, their world record ranking on the Donkey Kong Forum or Twin Galaxies. So, obviously from top to bottom, Ethan Daniels, Estelle Goffin and Andrew Barrow. But last year, Andrew Barrow, highest score, kill screened at the Kong off. And when it came to the finals, was the first one out. So it's really hard to know what's going to happen there. I think for me, it's really just trying to figure out who's going to make it in the top 16. And I think that those three will definitely make in the top 16, and people like Johnny Bond, Alan Stall, and I think people like Michael Kibbe and Sean Tagg, John Tannehill, Richie Knuckles. I'm confident they'll all make the top 16. But once in there, who are going to be those top three players? It's and being a head-to-head, it's I think it's going to be quite exciting tomorrow. The scores today matter, but tomorrow it's where it's really going to count. So I might throw that back at you, Paul. Do you have any kind of idea who you think the top three are going to be, or even maybe in order of the top three? First, second, and third, or at least the three players who might be in that grouping.
Well, I've already mentioned before that I've gone a little bit left field and I've put Shane Saul as number one. I think he may take this out. I think the other two contenders or three contenders that really will do well, I think Estelle Goffinet's been playing very well. He's been practicing before he got out here to Australia, so he's put in the hard work and I think he'll do well. We've also got Ethan Daniels. He's an excellent player as well, so I think he will be in the mix. And possibly Andrew Barrow as well, as long as he doesn't play like the nerves he had in the Aussie Commonwealth one, where he lost out being first seed to 8th seed. I think he probably learned from the Gallagher Championships how to play great. He really took it to the competition in that championship. I was really, really impressed. And when I saw that video where he said he's going to defeat the competition, I believed him, and he did it. So I think that's top four, but I would be very happy to see all the other contenders, even if you come in 16th or 15th place, they have a chance. That's the whole idea of these one-on-ones. And look, anybody could go in that mix, and there's a lot of great players out there. So very hard to say, but they were my top four, and we'll see what happens.
Oh, exactly. Like you could underestimate the lower scorers on personal bests. It's personal best tomorrow. Well, they're trophies for, and credit to them for getting those scores, but that's their personal best. It's not their average. So someone's score might be 1.1 million or 1.4, like Ethan Daniels, and I'm assuming his average is very high, as we can see at the moment here on the bottom left of the screen. He's at 690,000. So I can imagine his average is going to be very high, but under the conditions of competition tomorrow, maybe he'll be affected, maybe he won't. Maybe he'll push himself a bit harder. But he's no stranger to Kong-offs. He's played in them before. My guess is he'll do very well. But yeah, is he going to do well enough to beat his opponent? Impossible to say, of course, but I'm sure I'd be very surprised if he's not up there, in that top fives at the end of tomorrow. But it's impossible to say if he's going to finish in that top three, but he's certainly got a solid game going now.
Well, I think what I'd like to say about what's happening at the moment is today is all about the pressure's off, in my opinion. You just play 12 hours stretch. Of course, you can't play for 12 hours straight, but you've got time to actually do well. And so after those 12 hours, people, after being that relaxed, then get into the acid test of head-to-head. And when it's head-to-head, anything can happen. So it's really like two different types of play. And those two different types of play is something you have to master. Not an easy thing to do, And I think that changed since Commonwealth 4 to a playoff format as well, a bit like the NFL, where, you know, if you go 16-0, you're not the champion, as the Patriots well know. You got to do the playoffs and do the hard work. As another dimension. So I think Richie Knuckles has done well to do that, and I have to mention also Richie Knuckles is also playing, so I hope he does well. How do you think he will go, Phil?
Yeah, Paul, just quickly, I will answer that question. There was a bit of a request about Alan Stall, and I didn't want to interrupt your conversation just because of lag, but yeah, I'll just check again. John, where did you say he was? 500?
He's at 550 now.
Yeah, he's at 550,000 now. I saw someone post up 547, and
There's 2 men left.
and he's just 2 men left. So Alan's got a good game going there, Alan Stall. So going back to what you're asking, Paul, how Richie Knuckles will be playing, I think is what you're asking. Hard to know. He's had a bit of a game this morning, Richie has, and he's capable of kill screening, but again, he's not somebody who's regularly playing and kill screening, so he'll have some. He made it in the top 8 last year. That was the top 8, but I think there's a lot stronger competition this year, not just because of the US contestants, but also just those who were playing last year that had a year to keep playing and put a lot more skill up there. And as you said, like people like Shane Saul and Neil Cairns, I think it's going to be evident that they've improved their game quite a bit. And depending on where his game's at, like he's had a pretty rough year, and he's been very busy with his arcade. And he said himself earlier today he hasn't been playing Space Invaders or any games for that matter. And I'm sure the muscle memory's still there, but whether it's there enough on the day it'll be interesting to see. So I think we're going to have I'm sure there's going to be some surprises tomorrow, and that'll make for an exciting, not just the top 8, but even the bottom 8. That'll be very competitive on the day, I think, as they try and get into those finals.
Well, if I look at the last playoffs, like I said before, when you look at 8 KO1, KO6, KO5, KO4, the first seed is only won at once. So, if you top score on Saturday today at Netherworld, no guarantee you're going to win the tournament. You've only done it 1 out of the 4 times. And when I look at the other results, second has won it once. 4th place has won it once, and 6th place has won it once. So really, it's a big spread, and that was when you had 8 players in the playoffs. But now we're going to have 16, so it adds a totally new dimension and a whole bunch of excitement, and a lot of tension. It's a great field. We've got a great live feed, and I think it's just awesome to have it on. And one thing I wanted to mention about Netherworld, for everyone listening out there, this place is fantastic. You've really got to come out and visit this country if you're outside of Australia, and if you're in Australia, you really need to go there. It's much more than just an arcade. It's a place to go. It's a place of art. It's a place of culture. It reminds me a little bit of Meow Wolf in New Mexico. And it's a great atmosphere, great people out there. You've even got pinball out there, board games, all sorts of things. They got a 2-bit movie club. They also do comic book releases, all sorts of things, and it's a fantastic place to go to have a good day, a good night, and party. And play video games, of course, which is probably the most important thing.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, Paul. Netherworld's become quite a hub for pop culture in that manner. They have regular video game tournaments of one way or another here. The Kong-Off one is obviously the big one they have each year. They've only been open for 2 years. Their second birthday hasn't come around. It comes around in January next year. They have a string of arcade titles which they rotate around, and they have a policy that if it's on the floor it's got to work. So Dave James, their technician, first thing in the morning he gets here early. Anything that might have had a problem has to be removed and replaced that day. They also have a bunch of pinballs. Last year they were involved in holding the biggest pinball tournament in the Southern Hemisphere in number of competitors. They also have a lot of board games. They have a RPG night. I think it focuses around like a Dungeons and Dragons night, which I think they get as many as 70 people each month to. Once a month they hold that, and they get 70 people turning up. And of course it's a bar and there's a cafe restaurant attached. They also have a small gallery wall there where they showcase a lot of comic art and other sort of material, related to, could be RPGs or assuming video game stuff as well. There, and I'll try and grab one actually. I'll see if John can grab me one. Just 1 second. Hey John, can you grab me one of the marquees? You got one? The Donkey Kong marquees? Is there one around? Yeah, just grab it. They do a lot of their in-house artwork here. I'll just grab one of the marquees. I was going to get it later. But here it is. Here. This is today's. Here we go. Look. Australian Kong off. The graphic designs done in the house, and the cabs look just as good. Their technician Dave James does all this. They build cabs from scratch or fix items up that come in their way. But yeah, as a place, having been to Barcade in Williamsburg and in Manhattan, and for the Netherworld event, and been to ones in Melbourne, this is it's the real deal. Like whether you're a player or an enthusiast of any of those things, it's a certain, as Paul said, it's a must-stop place. I think if that's your interest, and if you're looking for a reason, to come to Brisbane so you can visit, well, just coming to Netherworld could actually be your reason. I think don't wait for some other event if you really are interested in this kind of activity, which is presumably you are if you're listening to this. I think it'd be a good place to something to put on the calendar for next year. And I know there's a lot of things coming up. Having spoken to Jimmy and Ben, that's Jimmy Nails and Ben Nichols for the future events for next year. So if you've got the time and inclination, certainly make your way to Netherworld. It is a really, everything that Paul said. It's a benchmark for what an arcade style like this certainly can be, and I think almost will have to become if you want this kind of style of arcade. It's top notch.
I've been watching Ethan Daniels' game here. If you guys also out there on planet Earth can see, and he's on 760,000 or whatever. He's got 2 men left, and he seems to be playing really well. And I'm just wondering, Phil, is this actually the highest score so far?
Yeah, I mean, without having checked, but it would be the highest score so far. There hasn't been. We've seen the cabinets change around a bit, and like players, on and off them. But he's been sitting there. It'd have to be the highest score so far. And as his score goes up, I might have to draw our attention to it a bit more. I think now, just because he's playing so well. It'd be interesting to talk to some other players on their feeling on it. But I'm sure Ethan, if he was available to talk to, he could give us. He's probably done the calculations in his head of some idea of what pace he's on. But I'm saying it looks like he's. It could be an early kill screen for the day, not to jinx him or anything, but the score is sitting at and the level he's at. I think it's level 19. It says now. So he isn't too many more levels or too many boards away from a kill screen as it is. So it'd be an exciting way to start the day or start the competition.
I think what will be interesting is to work out what will the final 16 be as far as players, and what will be the lowest score to actually make that 16. So I think that will be quite of interest, and we'll see what happens. But maybe it's going to be like 800 or 900k, I don't know.
Yeah, I agree, Paul. Once we get a bit more information in of scores, it'd probably be too early to tell so far, but certainly by midday we'll have a solid top score and a pretty clear bottom score of 16 entries, and then I think we'll start seeing competition grow into the afternoon to try and to shuffle that top 16 around. I think that. Oh, sorry, I was just watching on Ethan's Ethan's game there. It's a bit disappointing. But I think come midday we'll have a much more definite idea of where those top scores are. And just in response to people asking for a feed to Alan's, I'll see if I'll get an update on that as soon as I get off the mic and see where he's at and see if we can get his game switched over to one of the streams. But I think there's a bit of interest in, of course, Ethan's game at the moment, and I'm not sure if they're going to switch off Michael Kibbe's just yet. But first chance I get, I'll find out where he scores at, and maybe we can maybe get a live feed a feed from that. Hey John, do you mind just giving me an update on Alan's? Just can't see for me.
6:22 last man.
Yes, 6:22 is Alan Stall's score at the moment. 622.
I'm just looking at the scores that were achieved in Commonwealth 6, and because we're doing a 16-player format this year, if I look at the lowest score to make the 16, Jeremy Young made it in at 428k, and Richie Knuckles, he actually came in 15th place at 485k. So if we use this as some sort of a guide, maybe a 400k plus score will make the 16, and probably below that may not, but time will tell. I think the field is quite strong in Australia, but it's probably a little bit strong in the US, to be fair. But I have a funny feeling it's probably going to be 400k plus will make the 16.
Yeah, I've got a feeling that 400 might not cut it this year. I think that it might be lifted a bit higher, but hard to know just yet. But I just have a feeling that's it's not fair to say bottom end. They're great scores, but I think that it'll become quite competitive and they'll start pushing each other up. Like this bracketing will really force people to play a bit more, I think, as they get bumped out of that top 16. Just in response to a question, I think about half the cabs have a direct feed, but they all have cameras on them. Some of the older PCBs weren't handling the direct feed so well, so they've had to mount cameras on the side just to get a clean feed. But yeah, they're all wired up, so we can move around pretty quickly. But I don't want to fiddle with it. I'll get one of the technicians to move the cabinet once Paul and I finish talking, I guess. But yeah, going back to what you were saying, Paul. Yeah, I think 400k could be it, but I've just got a feeling it might be lifted a bit higher this year.
Well, like as I said before, time will tell, and I'm just looking at the other results in the other Commonwealths. They didn't normally have as many players as we do in this tournament. Do we have any idea how many have actually entered into this tournament? I know there was about 30-odd, or 37, but I'm not sure, being there like you are, how many there really are.
Yeah, I heard a number of 30 plus, close to 40 have entered. But then there's people who are just going to turn up on the day. Now, the chance of those people just turning up on the day, putting a score up at 400 plus is, I mean, it's plausible that one of them could be a great player and has just been out there practicing, but I'd say they've probably made themselves known to Netherworld if they're in the local area. But I'm guessing that it's really those 30 plus players who've made it clear they're entering is what we're looking at, and as we've mentioned, a lot of the more notable players who are going to be trying to push themselves in that top 16, and once they're in there, I think there'll be people sitting around the bottom just to try and make sure they've held that position. When they start looking at who's pushing their score up underneath, they'll start making it more and more competitive to get in. But like I said, time will tell. If the scores aren't being, if 400. If a score of 200k sitting around the bottom 16, then those players will start pushing around, and as it makes people itchy at the top, they might start playing again. So it could end up with quite a solid list at the end of the day, I think.
Well, when I look at the history of the Kong-Off in America, there's been 6 Kong-Offs. Did you know there's only 3 champions? So 3 out of the 6. So we've got Jeff Wilms, 2 times winner, who you mentioned before was an excellent player, and he would have won 3 if they didn't change the format to head-to-head. So he would have won 3. Jeff Wilms has 2, Hank Cheen has 2, and Robbie Lakeman 2. So they're the ones who are at the top of the ladder. And in the Australian Kong-Off, the first one ever held, as you know, last year, Shane Saul won that championship. So really, there's 4 King of Kongs, to be fair, in all these years, and that's what, 2011 to 2018. So that's 7 years of Kong-Offs.
Yeah, and it's an interesting stats there, like Robbie Lakeman and Hank Chan, and no surprises. But Jeff Wills, Jeff's Wilms score is, and I remember talking to Hank quite about in detail, and Hank believes Jeff Wilms to be one of the great players, but his approach of play in regards to playing on a cabinet, as I talked about before, he still plays main, so he rolls in and plays on a cabinet, which is, you know, as Hank said, if he was forced to play on a keyboard, you know, with not on a cabinet, he doesn't think he'd score as high. Then he really rates Jeff Wilms as a really top player, and if my memory, you know, from what he talked about, he believes he is, you know, one of the best, if not the best. Like he says, he's just an amazing player, but not as, I suppose, as active about pursuing those scores as Robbie Lakeman and McCurdy and Copeland have been, and also because he's not playing on a cab, he can't, but he's not submitting scores in that manner. So yeah, but like you're saying, yeah, there's only been those 4 players who are, you know, Kong-Off champions. They are the 4, and because of those the US 3 that you mentioned have all won it 2 times each. It does seem to illustrate a point. And also when you look at the runners-up of those, I think Hank Chan was a runner-up to one of Robbie Lakeman's. So when you start looking at the runners-ups, same with Jeff Wilms, I think he was a runner-up on one of them as well. So it is a small pool of you know, solid talent there. And here, with this being the second Kong-Off, then all of a sudden we'll have a probably more accurate spreadsheet. You know, we've got scores from last year and this year to compare, and you know, when the event runs next year, if we get the same lineup again, we'll have a better idea of who most likely will finish in that top 16. Like, we'll start seeing certain behaviours of competitive play.
Absolutely, and just coming back to Jeff Wilms, like I said, he would have been a 3-time champion if they didn't change the format. So, you know, it's quite unusual in some ways, because when you go to the arcade, it's about the high score. It's not about you playing someone else to win. It's about who's got the high score, they're the winner. And I guess that makes sense for the first 3 Kong-Offs, but if they had Kong-Off 4 the same way, Jeff would have had his 3rd title. But they changed it, and so now it's probably a little bit more exciting, where you can have an underdog win a championship, or, you know, has, you know, 6th on the ladder, and they can win the whole thing. So I think that makes it very exciting, and that's what we're seeing right now at Netherworld, and I hope this further competitions like this, and perhaps another classic game.
Sorry, I missed that last bit there, Paul, but Ethan Daniels just lost his last man on a very close to his kill screen there. There's a bit of a crowd growing. So a great game nonetheless. I might try and get him over here to have a sit down for a chat in a minute. But sorry, I just missed that last bit you were saying. I apologise, but there was quite a reaction there when he lost his man. Going back to saying, there are those players like Jeff Wilms and you know, any kind of competition and live play brings a very different dynamic to the game, as we just saw there with Ethan Daniels. The comfort of sitting at home and being able to, you know, playing in that manner is certainly lost in live play. But Ethan sort of demonstrated there how relaxed he was and how comfortable he was at putting a score of 8,300 points, you know, on his first. I believe that was his first game of the weekend. So we have a pretty solid high score at the moment. I'm sure there'll be players who will need to start chasing them out. But the Kong-Off certainly has only added an increased interest, to Donkey Kong and attracted those players you mentioned to it.
Anyone not playing machine, give me a combos! Woo! Beautiful! Thanks, sir.
So how is Estelle Goffinet going? Is he actually playing at all?
No, I don't believe Estelle is playing just yet. I can't see him on this side, but I'll find out soon enough. The crowd's getting pretty thick in the room, so I can't see all the cabinets across. But I might try and get Ethan Daniels on in a minute if that's all right.
I think when we talk about the top players like Ethan Daniels and quite a few others, it's about the positioning where you finish actually in the ladder.
Sorry, what were you saying, Paul? I heard that, but you're saying his position in the ladder over the event, you mean? There's been quite a request for Alan.
So what I'm trying to say is that if 400k is going to be probably the qualifying score, when you talk about players like Ethan Daniels, Andrew Barrow, and quite a few high scorers, it's about where you finish in the ladder for the playoffs. So it's important that you feel relaxed and play, but it's about how you finish. So we'll see what happens, and it should be very exciting.
Yeah, I think it will be exciting, and on that point, I might try and get Ethan on. I think he's just ducked off to grab a drink, but I might get him on if that's all right with you, Paul, and just say thanks for coming on. It's been great and fantastic job as always with the MGL, and of course recently, going over to Japan to try and connect to the community, the enormous game community there, and as we know, there are solid players still playing retro games, which you have shared on Facebook. We saw plenty of retro activity going on there and on arcade games, and of course plenty of arcade games, new ones that I imagine most of us aren't that familiar to us. So yeah, thanks for coming on, and maybe later on, if you're around, I might give you a call and see if you've got some time to spare, and we might do a bit of an update on the top 16.
Thank you very much, Phil. It's been fantastic. I wish everyone out there all the best, all the competitors, good luck. All you people watching around the world, enjoy this. This is really special. And whenever you want to play a video game, come and play in the MGL or play anywhere else in an arcade. Have a good life, and we'll catch up very soon.
You're a good man, Paul. Thanks for coming on. And I'll give you a call through the day. Cheers, buddy.
Scribble this.
Hey Paul, thanks for coming on, man. Thank you so much. Be well. All good?
That'd be good. And I want to get Ethan on. He already said goodbye and stuff, so that's great. So anyway, won't have as much pause in between conversation now. It's great to have Paul on, Paul Hanitsky, certainly doing his bit for competitive arcade gameplay. Like I don't know if there's anyone on the earth doing as much as he is in the scores that he's tracking and the players he's tracking. And first chance we get, we're going to have Ethan Daniels come and sit down and have a bit of a talk about his gameplay and how he feels and how it's going. And it'll be good to have him sit here, and we'll be able to sort of assess some of the actual gameplay that's going on at the moment with Michael Kibbe and Alan Stall, which has had plenty of requests.
So Alan's here on the left.
Yeah,
now.
Alan on the left now, and there's been plenty of people. He's got his fans. So yeah, so I'll get some pretty solid commentary on these two coming games, or these two games coming up. And we'll have an update of the leaderboard so far. So that was Alan. I'll let you sort this out.
Yeah, man.
Alan's scoring. Can you bring that back and I'll just get an update?
I'll try and get the leaderboard up there in the next few minutes.
No worries. Yeah, I was just talking to Jimmy. He's going to put the leaderboard up in a minute, and I'm just going to try and get Ethan Daniels here to have a sit down. But I just lost him. He's run off. Anyway, he'll be back. So Alan Stall's game's just finished, and we're just going to get the score down, and we'll get a leaderboard up so we can have a more accurate indication of what's going on. Yeah, as regards to what Paul was saying earlier, like with Netherworld and the video game community at large, yeah, there's certainly enough activity going on out there, and not having access to a cabinet isn't necessarily such a problem. You know, when you look at people like I mentioned before, particularly like Andrew Barrow and Macaulay, of course, great main players who are also very good on cab games. A lot of skills and knowledge can be learnt on playing MAME and then transferring them across to arcade cabs. There's a way of getting that back to one screen. Sorry, mate. So I might grab, while waiting for Ethan Daniels, I might try and get Alan over. Hey, Alan. Alan.
Hey, buddy.
How are you, man? Come sit down.
See ya.
So there's been plenty of requests that we didn't have your game on the live stream until you waited for the last minute. We got it up there, and then I was pretty busy talking to Paul Malinsky, which was great. So what was your final score there? 600?
700.
Oh, 700.
Yeah, 722, 4, 600 I think it was.
So
722, 600. Yeah.
Must be happy with that.
Yeah, mate. Yeah, first game, first man was 300 odd, 300 something thousand.
So you must be that's the top two scores at the moment next to Ethan Daniels, I guess.
Yeah, mate. Yeah. Good so far.
Yeah, well, just me and Paul were talking about the top 16 scores. You know what they'll be. And last year the bottom score was around 400k. What do you reckon will be this year? In the top 16.
God, you can.
And a guess. What do you like?
800s,
You reckon?
800,000. Yeah, you got Estelle, and even they're capable of getting a million as well, and Barra. Yeah, so.
But what do you reckon? Like, we're not expecting necessarily anyone to reach 1 million points, but we've got very close there with these two scores already. Like, it's up there. But as we make our way down, we've got plenty of players who, you know, like last year, if it was 400k was the bottom 16 score, I've got a feeling this year 400 might not cut it. You might have to get a score of maybe 500. You know, there seems to be a bigger pool of talent this year, and it's been a year of practice.
Yeah, I think so. I think my score from last year was 600.
Yeah,
so good.
you might have to lean in a bit more.
Okay.
Yeah, so I've got Alan on the mic here. So if anyone wants to sort of any direct questions that you might want to ask of Alan.
Yeah, mate. Yeah, answer away. I mean, ask away.
But you've been practicing quite a bit leading up this con-off, haven't you?
I have, yeah. Nearly every day. It's just a force of habit, mate. I just can't stop playing the damn thing.
You're a bit addicted.
Prior to coming here, I had 3 500k games.
I was predicting that might be the first question, was when 1 million. When are we going to see the million score?
Oh, I wish, mate. Soon.
Squeeze over a bit, Alan.
Soon, folks, soon.
Yeah, so we talked a bit about over the phone. You're going to have to start point pressing, you think, for that million start? I know you say you're not fond of doing it or you find it a bit too difficult, but...
Yeah, I've been starting point pressing. For me, it's very hard. I mastered by the hammer most times, but just coordination of the actual grabbing the hammer, as far as getting the barrels go, as it's concerned, yeah. But in my opinion, to get a million, you have to do some point pressing up the top, up and down, 800 to 500.
Just quickly, guys, is Alan coming through clear? I know he's a bit of a softer talker than I am. Everyone can hear him okay? Just don't want to miss anything you're saying, Alan. No. good. No, no.
Yeah.
Um,
Hey, Brian.
But on that point, you were saying, just learning to grab the hammer a bit better. It is really one of those fiddly games. It is a pixel-perfect game, Donkey Kong. There's no forgiveness. If you're not in the right spot when you jump in relation to the speed of the barrel, or if you just happen to graze one, it's not very forgiving at all, is it?
No, not whatsoever. You can have the fraction of a second grabbing the hammer and things like that, but it's the fireball, the unforgivable.
I've been watching Michael Kibbe play, and he's been point pressing on the pies here, which is pretty rare.
Yeah, I did a couple of times on there by mistake, actually.
By mistake, just fell into a hole.
Yeah, I couldn't get out, so I had to grab the hammer. But I've been practicing at home, actually, so I wasn't nervous about the pie factory. So.
Am I right in saying that the last score that didn't point press on the pies was Wes Copeland? Like now Robbie Lakeman and McCurdy are point pressing on the pie level?
Yes.
Yeah, but the last world record wasn't though. The third Wes Copeland's world record didn't have point pressing on the pies?
I don't think so,
yeah.
no.
So, sorry.
Sorry, mate. Yeah, I need to be. If it happened to do it, you had to do it.
But here it looks like Michael Kibbe's actively doing it. He seems to be just going for it, finding on the left side of the board. He's not going for the Weeby freebie, as I've come to know it's called.
Yeah, no, I had a lot of those today. I don't know what his game is today, but I think it's the wrong thing. Should be just running boards today and tomorrow, I guess, as well.
Well, here we've got Michael's on 214,000 points, which is still halfway, obviously, from 400k, but it seems to me that we're going to see quite the bottom, the bottom of those 16s. I just had a feeling that it'll be a high 400 and sitting there if it is a 400, but I don't know. It's just going by conversations from other players like yourself.
Yeah, my question was, because Ethan and Estelle has come here, you'd have to, if they do a good high score, virtually doomed a lot of players that can't get high scores virtually, and even people with high scores.
But yeah, it's true. They might hold the top two positions, but it just means that it'll course. Okay, the top two positions. Let's say, like, if what Alan's saying is true, so already Ethan's holding number one, and let's say Estelle holds number two, which he doesn't, and you do. But let's just say he does, and then let's say you hold number three. Then that means that all of a sudden those scores beneath that become more competitive to make sure you secure a spot in the top 16.
Yeah, that's pressure too, mate. I'm no good at pressure, as you know, and yeah.
So what are your plans for the day? You'll play again for a bit more practice later today?
Most definitely. I'll try and beat my high score today. I like this perfectionist. I like to.
And what about over practicing though? You don't fear of maybe burning out before tomorrow?
That's a possibility as well. I think it relaxes me sometimes, even though I beat the shit out of it.
It relaxes you sometimes. It's a bit of a it's a genuine relationship, isn't it? With you?
Yeah, that's right, mate. Yeah.
When it's good. It's good. When it's bad, it's bad.
Yeah, that's my missus, mate. The Donkey Kong.
I was talking to, so I know that I was looking into a bit about the 11, 12, 13 and 14 boards, and most say there's nothing to it, but I spoke to Shane Saul this morning, and he brought his board in case they need to spare, and it's a 14 board.
Oh. Actual fact that all Donkey Kongs are 14 bar 1. I think this is the one that's on 11.
Yeah. So those who aren't too sure, like PCBs, the printed circuit boards, the Nintendo printed circuit boards, ones that carry a print, they've got registered numbers on them. I'm not sure what those numbers exactly mean, but they run 11 through to 14, 11, 12, 13, 14. And there are some players out there, Alan's one of them, who somewhat subscribes to the theory that that the 11 board is the most difficult to play, whereas 14 boards are easier. Whereas many say there's no truth to it at all, like the ROMs are the same, and the timing of the machine, the way it works, the timing circuitry and all that's identical regardless of the board. But even if it's psychosomatic, even if it gives you a psychological edge, that's good enough. But I just thought, I know there's not a race, but it's at the moment you and Shane are the most, you're the top two contenders for the first to hit 1 million points in Australia.
Yeah.
What do you reckon? Why haven't we got one? Like New Zealand has 3. million point players?
Yeah, good question. I'm not too sure why. Maybe the calibre of players in New Zealand, it could be a possibility, but I played probably the most games of Donkey Kong in Donkey Kong history, worldwide and Australia-wide, and I still can't get it. So for me, it's psychological as well, and pressure of the higher scores too. So.
Well, I mean, psychology, like in anything that's competitive, like Brett Ogle, the golfer. Do you remember Brett Ogle? Yeah, he lived around the corner from me as a kid. Yeah, in Goulburn, yeah. And he ended up getting, I don't know what they call it, they had a name for it, like the trembling hand or the shakes or something or other. He just psychologically lost the ability to putt from memory. He was his top world player, but he just wouldn't get onto a green where he just somehow got the jitters, And I imagine that happens to, there must be spells where you just can't even.
I've been in slumps many times, mate. I just had a slump before even coming here. Prior to my 500,000 games,
yeah. So what I was going to say on that was that psychological aspect of the game. When it comes to practice, do you ever find when you step away for a while that you come back a bit fresh?
Most definitely. I've had maybe a week. Sometimes I had the crank through it. I've had a high score, yeah. So it does help with
just a bit of a reset.
Yeah.
But your style of play is because you're not. You're known for not really point pressing as such. You will get the but which is really kind of predates sort of the Steve Wiebe era of point pressing, isn't it?
Yes. I'm not good enough to point press. I'm not coordinated as far as all the good players. John McCurdy, I think he's probably the best point presser I've ever seen. Besides, some of the other guys, Dean Seglio for one. I've never been a good point presser. I'm working on it.
And when you hit your million points, what then? Just put Donkey Kong away forever?
No, not really. I'm not like Robbie. Robbie Lakeman, yeah, buddy? Yeah, no, I'll keep playing. I built the damn thing, so I can't stop it.
Oh, you built it from scratch?
Yeah. I didn't build it personally, but I got it made. I got all the parts from America.
Sure, you're a Donkey Kong Jedi. Like that's the last bit.
Mate,
you've got to learn like a Padawan, and then you've got to build your own lightsaber. You know the innards of it inside out.
That's it, mate. Yeah.
And the other thing that's interesting about, there's lots of things interesting about Alan, but we won't get too much into his private life. But the Alan-off. Where are we at the moment? Like Brian Allen has won, he's won one, and you've won the second one, and Wes Copeland had the belt made as the sort of a proverbial carrot to try and draw Brian back into the game, but he's not keen on playing.
No, he wants $100 put into his Twitch account before he even tries to have another Alan-off. Yeah, so as far as money goes, he wants that, but I'll do it for free. Anywhere, anytime, buddy. Yeah.
There are these kind of grudge matches in a way that are forming in the throughout the leaderboard, isn't there? Like I mean, I can name a few that a lot of them centre around you actually. So maybe you're
right. Oh, wow.
Well, we've got the Alan-off for one.
Yeah.
We've got the Shane Saul and Alan Storr first 2 million points. And then we've got and that combines those two to the sort of the Australian, New Zealand sort of Anzac Kong-off players like. Well, it's not an Anzac, but you know what I mean. Like the first to be one of those to sort of hit maybe the New Zealand player, which has always been a friendly rivalry between our two countries, like Andrews and our country. But there are, because as we can see, like any serious Donkey Kong player is going to know their limits in the game. Like to see those top players, like we're saying, Lakeman, McCurdy, Saglio, Benzinger, those sort of guys. They're looking at a very different pool of ability. Like it could be just hours spent, but it's a different shift, isn't it?
Oh, most definitely, yeah. Unbelievable. The calibre of Donkey Kong players these days is unbelievable. A lot of players out there we can get a world record. A couple of players. It's just good to see it after so many years since Donkey Kong's been created in '81.
But what about this event being a knockout tournament? And I mean, the future of Donkey Kong doesn't look dim at all. Like I thought Donkey Kong was going to not die, but as the world record got pushed up, but like I said, as the look at the leaderboard, people have got their own little positions where they want to sit, like to make it in the top 20, make it in the top 30, kill screen. Like there's lots of benchmark points, aren't there? Like so, from my understanding, like these are probably the typical benchmarks, like the hurdles that you have to get through to become a good player. So the first one is probably a start, reaching a level 5 and competing it. Because from my knowledge is getting to a level 5 and competing it, that's kind of, it's not fair to say that's the whole game, but that's put you in a position to understand what's expected of you to play.
Yeah.
So reaching a level 5 start, the next one seems to be a kill screen. Or is there a point difference in the middle somewhere? Like is there a point that some players might aim for at that? Or really is just trying to get that kill screen? That's the sort of next trophy mark.
It all depends. If you're a million-point player, you aim for 1 million points.
No, I'm talking about a fresh player, someone just coming in. If I was to play Donkey Kong now, I'm going to turn my attention to Donkey Kong. It seems to me the first thing I need to do is get a start.
Yeah, that's the first thing. Get a start, and every player who plays Donkey Kong wants a kill screen. So yeah.
And then the next one, a kill screen.
Yeah.
And then what? That's where.
I got 8 kill screens, so I just want to keep going, mate.
You boastful bastard. 8 kill screens.
The first Australian, actually.
Yeah, so you're the first Australian. You had to get a kill screen.
Yeah, kill screen and Donkey Kong cab. Yeah. So.
Are you the first Australian New Zealand? If we include them.
No, not the Kiwis, mate. Yeah, separate Australia, mate.
No, but I think were you the first to? Did you got a kill screen for in New Zealand as well?
I'm not too sure about that now.
I thought Sparrow. Yeah. So after the kill screen, this is, what I'm saying is this is kind of where, I'm not saying where you're at, but where to from here is to get that million points, but it seems point pressing has got to be the answer, hasn't it? Otherwise it's really just hoping for that,
Yeah, for me, I've got to do the point press up the top where the hammer is, up the top where the monkey get 800 and 500. I've tried my hardest, both bottom and top hammers, and I still can't do it because I lose a bit of momentum in the actual stages if I fall behind.
But certainly here today, and tomorrow, will give you ample opportunity. I mean, you've got friends and fans, all over. You have got fans, though, haven't you?
Yeah.
You've got fans. But, so there's plenty of opportunity to talk about that. Certain tactics that can be employed for bettering kills, for better point pressing. But certainly, while you're here, the opportunity to talk to someone in front of a cabinet about it would be quite beneficial, wouldn't it? I'd love to see you get 1 million points. What do you reckon? What do you reckon? Be a day off work?
Man, I'll be opening my Kong bottle of beer for sure, celebrating. So yeah, because I didn't want to try for 1 million today because I had to qualify. So maybe tomorrow. I'm not too sure. Yeah. Maybe just run boards again with a high score. The main goal today is to win the damn thing. I missed out last year big time.
So here we can. Sorry, here you go. I was going to say here we can see Shane Saul point pressing now. Like you're capable of doing that, of course, jumping. And I believe Weeby was the first person to sort of demonstrate that in a recorded game, from what I understand. And that's kind of the beginning of point pressing, isn't it? That was when that's like no one. Like you think about it, when Billy Mitchell was playing, if you're running boards for a high score, no one would have thought let's stand near a foot and jump around. You just finish the game. So from my understanding, that is the historic point when point pressing. From what I've gathered from Donkey Kong players, that was the beginning of point pressing. So you must exploit that. That's an easy one to exploit, isn't it?
Yeah, that's correct. There's also been comment about that. People cheat doing that. It's not the fact at all. It's part of the game, mate. People don't realise. I think it went back to Billy Mitchell as well. I don't know if Steve Weeby started or maybe Billy started as well.
Started point pressing.
Yeah.
Well, I think when I was speaking to Billy about it, he said it was Steve Weeby. Like, Billy, because he had never bothered to do it. Like there might have been players who said he did it, but there was no need because let's say if you were point pressing like that at 500,000, it wasn't going to assure you a victory of 800,000. So there was no need for those stronger players to bother with it. They just would naturally get, like you naturally got, what was it, 700 plus thousand now. There aren't that much. There isn't that many points in that manner just to jump at a foot. but now the way they're herding the barrels and that kind of point pressing is where the real points are made, isn't it? Point pressing.
Correct. To get that score today, I didn't even point press. I just ran wobblets.
Yeah. So running boards will hit to around the 800,000 mark. Right?
That's correct. Yeah.
So if that's one, it's an easy exploit to do jumping in the foot on Kong on the rivets board. And there's another one on the elevators, isn't there? On the top right near the prize. That's another one you can point press quite comfortably on.
That's correct. Yeah. I only do it on level 2 and 3. I don't do it go beyond there because it's very hard to come across.
So you've got to come back. So the danger's coming back again.
Yeah. You got to time it well.
So we might do a bit of a look at this game that Shane Saul's playing now. We should see some good play here and Sean Tagg on the bottom. But just looking at Shane Saul's on the right
Just
here.
start again.
Yeah, oh, okay. Now here there is no real confidence in controlling the barrels, is there? Have a for those Americans watching a fantail.
Yeah, mate. Donkey here.
So for those who don't know, fantail's a little lolly here, what you call candy, and it comes with a question. So we'll test Alan's general knowledge here. Who am I? You ready, Alan? Big question. Okay. There are a group of four men who have their own children's television program. In 1995, 96, 98, 99, 2000, 2000, 2006, they were awarded with the highest selling children's videos. I don't need to go on, you know who it is.
Wiggles.
Yeah, it's got to be the Wiggles. And the correct answer is the Wiggles.
Jeez, I'm good.
They're not always Australian people, though. No, that just happen to be in Australia. And they're a caramel chewy lolly. So
Yeah, man, right. Hobbit, like Hobbit.
it's going to interfere, but they're not as hard, are they?
No.
But it's going to interfere with our commentary. Anyway, so here we go. So I missed the star of that. So I assume he did the star, or did you do the weave? I missed the.
No, he done the start, mate.
Who did the star?
He always done the
But I think you did the star today.
I did a couple of times. I had to.
Yeah. So you're going to revert to the star. You're going to convert over.
No, mate, no.
So next time we get to a rivet, we might try and identify the freeze barrels for people watching will identify. So a bit of point pressing there. And I was saying earlier how crucial it is to understand this aspect of these games where the danger lies, to find the entertainment in watching it. Otherwise, we had no idea, which was my time in the past. I looked at me, what a boring game to watch, because I didn't know where to look. I'd see someone sort of underneath the springs hesitating to go up the ladder, not knowing about the short and long springs.
Yes.
So on level 2 here, so there's going to be very little opportunity to steer a barrel here, isn't that right, Alan?
Yeah, a little bit. I can, possibly.
But best just to get through it.
Yeah. Level 3 is going to be the hardest. That's the wild barrel stage. It's very unpredictable.
That'll be fun. And that's the drop zone, as you saw there, as it just skimmed past him. That's where it's a little bit, it's a danger, but it does seem to forgive a bit more. The barrel can sort of touch you a bit and not die.
Yeah, you're trying to go up that ladder. You go up that ladder. I don't. I go up that ladder, but you've got to watch out with the monkey throwing the barrel down. Yeah.
What Alan's pointing to the two ladders that almost directly above the burning oil barrel at the bottom. So that zone, that vertical drop between Kong's feet right down to the oil, the burning barrel of oil, is a real danger area to sit, isn't it?
Yeah.
So what we're going to see Shane do here is really just try and get through these levels as quick as he can, these barrel boards, until he reaches level 5. Isn't that correct? So here we'll see the spring. So looking at the springs and not watching Jumpman or Mario, you can see a spring as it first bounces out. It's landing on Kong's on the left side of his foot, or it lands on the right. Now when it lands on the right, that's a long spring, and when it lands on the left, it's a short spring. Or on it could be a short, and it's the long spring that he's looking for. No, we didn't really get to see it there. We just said to duck off. But that determines whether it's safe to actually progress through. So here we go, the rivets. Now, what I understand with the barrels, as they form, it's the second barrel, so not that one, that barrel that's just come on. They wait for the second one to come on. All right, if we watch that second barrel, and then not the third, so the second one, if we keep an eye on it, that's potentially a barrel that'll freeze.
Yeah, fireball.
A fireball, yeah. And I'm undecided whether I should call them fireball or foxes. So the fourth barrel on the bottom girder, it's also the fourth one entered. It's also a freezing barrel, isn't it?
Yeah.
So
it varies. It's all random. You can't point press these. You can't steer them. They're just random.
Yeah, they're random. But it is known that the second and fourth ones are the freezing ones. So when you're playing, are you watching them? Do you remember which ones are the second and fourth?
I've got a bad memory as far as the gameplay goes. I hope for the best. But, Yeah, no. Some people know about that. I just play just to.
See, like that one there, see how he's just sitting underneath? He's frozen, isn't he? Well, lost it. But that one that was sitting there like that, he just froze for a while, didn't he?
Yeah.
But and also, when we come back to it, we might talk about how the barrels, when they first come, they always go left and right. But here we go. Here he's on again. So he goes on the second girder there. We've got the second one. So he's a freezer, and the one on the fourth girder from the bottom is the third barrel, and that one come on now. He's a freezer. So that means that they'll potentially freeze, which will give the player, the competitor, a bit more confidence in being able to move around the board. But they can freeze for a minimal amount of time or a lengthy amount of time, so they're less likely to charge you. And now, what also happens is when a Firefox goes to enters or exits a ladder at the top or bottom, they always go left first. But they may only go as little as 1 pixel left. You're not sure how far left they're going to go, but that's one. But it does give you some little bit of a minor bit of insight and advantage to how to, what to do next. So as you see, those two come up. There he goes. He goes left. He just turned left and he's frozen. So that's one of the freezers. And now he's moved left again, and here comes one. So this one's going to come up left, and he knows that, so he can capture him. And it looks like he's got a safe trip home here, hey?
Yeah, in my opinion, I reckon it's programmed into the game, mate. Because nearly all the time they always freeze and stay on the right hand side. It's just unbelievable. I get caught out a lot of times up there.
And this is the star in work, isn't it? Like those two barrels are trapped when they respawn on the left there. So we're seeing some point pressing here, which it's not so much it's exciting to watch, but to organise it as best you can in that sort of, you're going to read out one of your fan tales now, right? So here we go. We're on a level 3 now. This is the wild barrels, isn't it? This is where they can get really wild. So you just I'm not sure whose game we've got here. We were watching Michael Kibbe, I think. We were watching. I thought we were watching. We were watching. Was it Michael Kibbe who was playing? But his name's disappeared, so I'm not sure who we're watching now. I'll have to find out if we can.
Protest here, protest.
Just want to. But anyway, while we're watching that, this is where the barrels are really wild. But just wondering who's on this. Name's disappeared. I'm not sure.
Shane.
Oh, it was Shane still. I was saying it was Mark Kibbe, it was Shane, sorry.
Is that Neil Hernandez in
But we'll get to see another barrel board on this level, won't we? Yeah. So now we'll have the pies, and then we'll get another barrel, won't we? And then a third barrel. The barrel board.
All right. It's video
And then we've
footage.
got
So
pie, then another barrel board, and then elevators.
He's been quite nice.
I think that's
playing for 6 years.
No, a second. But this one's different. This is there we have elevators and rivets, I think, isn't it? So you have elevators after and rivets, and then this is the only one that doesn't have a barrel board in between as they progress up to level 5. So this is the Weeby Freebie's not looking like it's so available here, Alan.
No, most times it's not. Most times it is. It's the shortest board on the game. If you can do the Weeby Freebie, it's good.
And really, the prize here, like most would just pick up the umbrella because that's the more obvious exit. But what is that over there? Is that a hat? The other prize?
A bit of a chicken.
I don't know what it is, but so there we go, a barrel that's frozen.
I think it could be a JCB.
Much better. This sort of demonstrates how from my talking to people, like it's a 50-50 sort of thing. Like 50% of the time, the Stevie Weebies.
Yeah. Matt, please.
Oh, it's a purse. It's a purse. Umbrella. I thought it was a parasol.
Oh, really?
Just being contrary.
Pauline's purse.
Yeah, Pauline's parasol. She's out there keeping the sun off her face.
Love it. The whole Epping Town's here.
So it looks like he's managed to get through that all right. And he's there. It's probably the most unfavoured board, I guess, the Pie. Even though it's not necessarily blue harnessed, it's just a bad hand dealt, isn't it?
Yeah, when I first started, I found it very hard. I just couldn't do it properly. Master it.
So Shane's collecting all the little prizes. Now, will he go up point press? What do you reckon? Is he going to go point press?
He says he's going to.
Oh yeah, there you go.
At some stage.
See, it's those little actions there, just making, because I think Jumpman or Mario, he can only fall the distance of his own height, can't he?
Yeah.
Any further and he's out. So, except for, I suppose, the rivets where he launches off, but then he's frozen in space. So now we'll look for that long spring. So that was a long spring, wasn't it? And he's taken it and he's out. Nicely done.
First couple of boards are good.
Yeah, no, it's one of the things that does actually get harder through the game is the springs move quicker. So let's watch for those. So if he takes, watch up here, you can see. So he's doing the weave, is he? No, he's going to do the start. So yeah, that's like you skip the first two with the weave.
Only me and Ross do it.
So why is that? The dinosaurs misbehaviour, hanging on to these old methods.
It gets me in trouble sometimes.
But here it's worked almost perfectly, hasn't it? Like all of his
Early stages it can work perfectly.
So his fireballs are going to all spawn over there, and he's going to lock them off. So you can see there's a big all but one trap now, so he's only got one to contend with,
I
really.
think this level is luck, all luck, mate.
Down Mitch to mono, hang on.
He's skillful at some point.
Yes.
Because they're unpredictable, you can't control them.
Yeah. It is, I mean, the little bit of Donkey Kong
See how
play,
it's going double now?
it is frustrating. Alright, so we're going to see a start soon, hopefully. Sean Tags, where's he at level 3? Not quite neck and neck. What would you hope to see here this weekend, apart from yourself winning the whole thing?
So what was the question? Sorry, mate.
What would you hope to see this weekend, apart from you winning? Like, what would be an exciting thing? I mean, you must have watched, like you say, you've watched enough Donkey Kong. I mean, you've played enough. You must have watched more than most.
Not so much out. Just people have a good time, good games, and the best man wins on the day tomorrow. So, yeah, it's a matemanship.
Yep.
The good times, being with Jimmy.
Hey, mate.
Yeah, mate.
I do find on the higher levels the barrel board, steering them, for that point pressing is really quite entertaining. Like just, especially when they're really flying and how skilled some of these players are. I was watching Barrow doing some earlier, when we were talking. I think I was talking to Jimmy or maybe John Tannehill, and just the general awareness of what the barrel behaviour is, and feeling comfortable to run through them, and even the diagonal ones, just running at it, knowing the speed you're moving at to the barrel isn't going to collide.
I had a good run on the actual barrel board, actually. It was great. It was a point press, bypassed the hammer and just went straight up, and grab the top hammer when need to be.
See if am I going to play? Probably not. I'll have a game at some point just for fun. Well, of course it's going to be fun. I'm hardly going to upset anyone here with my score.
No.
I'll do a couple of kill screens, Alan, just for you.
Oh, yeah. That's the one. Positive thinking. At least I beat my score from last year, so that's good.
Oh yeah,
Happy
it's
with
just.
I just wanted to qualify, so that was the main thing.
What's been your best score this year in practice for this Kong-off? You've had an 800 plus.
Yeah, I had
a few
on
times.
the Allen-off, I had an 880 odd. I think it was 880, 860. But I've had prior to coming here, I had 3 500 plus games, 500k games, 560, 550.
Yeah. It's become quite a big part of your life, Donkey Kong Kong hasn't.
Oh,
In all
yeah,
seriousness, like it's not a. It'd be something that you'd be tapping into day in, day out, in one way or another.
Yeah, all thanks to my son actually. He downloaded a movie called King of Kong, and ever since that I built my cabinet and played it ever since.
King of Kong. What's that about?
That's the hang on. About Dad, my dad.
Yeah.
And
And
looked back since.
but you've had a lot of, because of your, deep interest in this game, like just the culture that surrounds it. You've had plenty of highlights in that. You've played Kong-offs in the US.
Yeah, made some good friends. Went to the Kong-off in 2012-13. Even before that, Richie Knuckles arcade culture. I always tuned in, rung up. So it's good.
But you've met Billy Walter.
Yeah, mate, I met them all in 2012. Even mates, some of them are here today. Not Estelle, but Ethan Daniels,
Yeah.
alias Peter Parker.
Yeah.
Looks like him, mate.
He does, yeah. He would be a good Spider-Man, yeah. Well, he climbs like Spider-Man in Donkey Kong, doesn't he?
He doesn't reckon he looks like. I said, boy, can I show that picture? Well, that's serious.
Parker, PP for sure.
That's right.
Hey, did you ever play Crazy Climber?
Crazy.
Climber.
I did, yeah. I got a Chinese cabinet home, and
You've actually got a Crazy Climber at home?
I
wow.
got a cabinet that's got about 200 games. It's got it on there. Yeah.
It's, but that's an 8-way joystick game,
yeah.
or 4-way on both sides.
I think
You
it's
do
a 4-way.
diagonals?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a 4-way, my way.
Yeah. So you might be all right at Robotron then, my favourite
I've
game.
got Robotron as well on there.
Oh, really?
It's a fast game, eh?
Fast is an understatement.
Bizarre. How does Ken House do it all? Like,
Oh, there's some players like,
100 hours.
oh, well,
Up to level 8.
players like Ken House, they're
Like, went to the arcade. Went to his arcade in 2012. The Manhole.
oh, but it's an arcade it's a, like I wrote an article on it, I don't know if you read it, like it's a gamer's arcade. Like if you could work your way around that room, you know how to play games because even just like from Tempest to Robotron to
Great guy, great friend.
Missile Command, like just the control panels, they're not.
Yeah, he's pretty knowledgeable too.
Yeah. And of course pole position. Oh yeah, his knowledge on it's enormous. Well, he's the man who completely disagrees with the 11, 12, 13, 14 boards. They're all the same. But it gives you a psychological edge, play on one.
I was hoping to kill screen today.
You'll have another crack at it though.
Yeah, it's good. Freaking the ribbon stuffed me up.
So Richie, assuming that's Richie.
Yeah, mate,
Knuckles.
Richie's back again. Just down here where I had.
So here we go. So we're seeing the star pattern again. So the star, we'll see Mario climb the first. Well, climb up, knock out the first rivet, not knock out the second, take out the top two, and then come back with the hammer, knock out as many of those Firefoxes as available, and they'll respawn on the left hand, cutting them off from any danger to Mario. It sort of builds a partition, a wall between him and the danger. So here we've got 3 of the 5 barrels on the screen at the moment are cut off.
Yeah, I had some unlucky luck when I started. I went up there and all of them come over here and just trap me, so I had to do the style pattern, as they say.
So that's a perfect execution of it, really.
Yeah.
But a lot of that is it's a strategy. Like you can employ that overall theory, but it doesn't always go your way, And that's not any fault of the player. It's just what happens, isn't it? But it seems that a stronger or maybe a confident, aggressive player might find their way through it. And how close can we get to Kong? If you touch him, you die, don't you? If you touch Kong, you die.
Oh yeah, I've done it many times, mate. Yeah, I'm the only one in Australia, the only one in the world playing Donkey Kong that does silly deaths, mate.
So this point pressing here, will that just keep giving points until the time runs out?
Yeah, mate, 100 points each time.
Yeah. So getting that on such a choice stage like this is really what you want. Like he's racking up quite a few points here. But because there is no danger now of a fireball coming over, he's really, if you did that every time, like if you got the perfect game, like a top player, let's say McCurdy's playing today, and he got every rivet he got like that, we'd see a score, and he was, doing his average on other boards, we'd see a score of maybe 1.3 million or something, you reckon?
Possibly, yeah. It could vary. 1.2, if not 1.25 something.
So we're at level 3. So this is a wild barrel stage for Shane.
Yeah, this is the one.
Yeah, so let's see what happens. And the bottom hammer I see players tend to ignore on the early stages, just to try and just get through it. Don't sit around the bottom.
On this level, yeah. If you don't point press,
Just too dangerous.
Yeah. I did it once or twice, but it had to. I was trapped.
And what about players who are really pushing it, like I keep saying the same names, but McCurdy and Lakeman, do they pick up the bottom barrel on stage 3? Yeah, they do. Yeah.
Unbelievable. Robbie, John, and West Copeland. There's a couple others as well on the circuit that are in the Donkey Kong Forum. High scores, they're good as well.
Just have a bit of feedback there saying the rivets alone won't be the difference in a 1.3. No, I'm not suggesting they'd be the if McCurdy, or we'll say McCurdy because he's chasing the score, if he was having his kind of sort of typical sort of strong game, average, like a good solid game, if the rivets fell that way, I wonder how many more points it would be obtainable. Whether it could be something as simple as that could stop you from getting a better score if you were unlucky enough to get those, because it's really only, what is it like? Is it as little as 7,000 points away from between the two now, McCurdy and
it's correct, yeah, 7,000 approximately.
Yeah. So a rivet, how many points did we see Shane collect back there? It must have been close to 1,000 points.
Yeah, you can get 3,000, 3,500, 4,000 points on the point pressing.
Yeah. So if he got I saw him jumping, I assume he jumped about 10 times. That's 1,000 points. The amount of rivets you play throughout.
Sometimes I count.
Yeah, and as Captain Jiv, who's Captain? You might know who these people are. Who's Captain Jiv? Do you know Captain Jiv?
I think
or
that's
Jive?
Chris. Yeah, it's Chris.
Chris
Tatum.
Oh. He's saying every bit helps. Yeah.
Hey buddy, how are ya? Tell Laura I love her.
So we're seeing again on Shane's the star. But like I said, it's early on, so it seems a bit more forgiving early on. And this is one of the ones that gets harder later. But now he hasn't got the luxury as he had last time. But the hammer's there, so he'll. So see this sort of juggling back and forth. It is an attempt to try and you can't steer them, but try and
a lot of people do.
Try and nudge them in the right direction. Like I'll do this, do that, and so there one. He's got a freezer there, so he'd be aware of that now, thinking I've got one that's freezing there. But now it's all getting a bit. For me, it's looking messy, but for you might see a path through there. There we go. So he's just going to finish this one. So had he been able to point press, he lost 1,000 points on the board right there, didn't he? Yeah. Just those who are listening, I'm sure you all know, but yeah, the way that the jargon used in this is, well, obviously levels and boards. So levels are a group of boards that we play. I say we now, I'm a Donkey Kong player. Yeah. I'm not a Donkey Kong player, but yeah, as the competitors are. So we have, and in the early levels, level 1 only has 2 boards, level 2 has 3 boards, level 4 has 4 boards, but then it jumps in level 5, doesn't it? I don't know if I got that right, or is it? I have to look it up.
Yeah, I understand. I have to get all the statistics of it.
No, I'm going to read it out. I'm going to refresh my memory on it.
That's right, Pete. Australia's best. Yeah, buddy. Lightweight.
Australia's best.
I'll soon be again.
Shane Saw might differ.
Yeah, that's right.
So level 1 goes barrel then rivets, then level 2 is barrels, elevators, rivets, then level 3 is barrels, conveyor belts, elevators, rivets, then level 4 is barrels, conveyor belts, barrels, elevators, rivets. That's what I thought. I thought there was one in the middle. Yeah. And then level 5 is barrels, conveyor belt, barrels, elevators, barrels, rivets. So yeah, it's just
Shane who? That's right.
What's that? Shane who?
Shane who?
That's actually a page from Steve Sanders' book from the 80s.
Oh, I've got this book at home.
Yeah. I'm sure you do. You got all this stuff.
Should read it.
You should read it. See, there's knowledge in those learning books.
Yeah, mate. Yeah, not like the other one. The stupid how to win a donkey piece of crap.
Well, Steve Sanders.
No, the other one.
What other one?
How to win a Donkey Kong.
That's what Steve Sanders wrote.
No, that's he's got another one. Guide to the Donkey Kong. Guide.
We just saw that Shane Saul just did this the Weeby freebie there, like a perfect demonstration of it. No interruptions, just getting it. Even I could do that, I think.
Yeah, bro, you can do that. Sure. It's good to breathe a bit better now in the finals.
You can relax a bit. You might just go have a kid and go to sleep. Let's have a look at the leaderboard. Let's have a look at some of the scores we've got now. So, we've got, assuming this is accurate, what is this? What score did you get?
722 600.
That must be Ethan Daniels there. For some reason, they've got this funny name in there.
Jesus.
Well,
I'm not even on there, mate.
I can't see. Maybe this isn't. Maybe they've started typing them into somewhere else. I'll have to find out what they are. So I'll give an update on that once I can get hold of someone. Give it to me.
Yeah, having a boycotting lane. Having boycotting here.
What's this?
No, I'm just making a silly comment. Protest at the line.
Here we go. So now we're gonna.
This could be a good game here.
What, Richie's or Shane's?
Instead of Richie.
Well, the pressure's on for Shane after your score.
Possibly.
Do you want to have a guess who might kill screen?
Probably Ethan.
Yep.
Who knows? Could be Shane.
Could be you.
Could be me.
Could be Jimmy Nails.
Yeah. Could be you, sir.
Nah.
Could be my son. Yeah.
Don't feel like it.
That's right. Doesn't feel like it.
Looking at the bottom screen there, Alan, the room's starting to fill up as we approach midday.
Yeah, mate.
Oh, we're past midday. Almost 1 o'clock. Again, the star pattern. Up we go, get the points.
I'd like to mention to the crowd or to the fans, our fans, yours and mine.
I don't know if I have any fans.
Yeah,
I think I've
fans,
just got people who might know who I am.
Gallagher fans.
No, I'm not.
Donkey Kong fans.
I'm not anywhere near in the league of you guys and what you do.
My son's here today as well. First father and son team. Donkey Kong history, I think.
What is it? Donkey Kong what?
History, like the father and son team that play official Donkey Kong tournament.
Oh. So you'll get some points. Let's count how many he gets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. No.
Wow, he's not point pressing, man.
Yeah. What was the cause of that? He was safe.
Don't know.
We'll have to rule him on that later. What are you doing, Shane? Throwing points away. Now we're getting into barrel control territory, aren't we?
It's a bit easier.
So let's see.
He's running boards now.
And even this sort of stuff, it looks so simple, but like he must know that spot of that diagonal barrel's not coming. You all must learn that. But, so you just sit on the right of that ladder.
Damn, it keeps jumping.
It's the amount of activity, I guess, streaming through and everything. We're going to get a bit of interference. Probably people. Oh, who knows? It's not too bad. It's an amazing setup they've got, though, isn't it?
Oh yeah, unbelievable.
The Netherworld for this.
In America, it's madness. Ethan. Well done, mate. Well done, buddy.
Thank you, sir. How you doing?
Yeah, all right. Good score too.
You too. Well, if you would have got to the end, you would have beat my score. If I would have got to the end as well, I would have had a higher score. But like where it ended, if you got there, you would have had the first place score.
Yeah, I wanted to get out, might get Ethan down from it if that's right. Alan.
Yeah, buddy.
Push on, buddy.
Thank you
Get on
very
later. Thanks for coming on.
I'm leaving us all, folks.
That's it for me. Thanks for watching. Catch us on the after. Time to pick up the kids from cribbage.
Hey, Ethan.
Awesome.
Ethan, nice game, buddy.
Thank you, sir.
Well done. How'd you sleep?
Like a log.
Yeah, I got up and you didn't move.
No, I didn't move. I heard you and Estel talking, and then I just blackbird dug out.
Oh no, in the morning. I didn't wake you. Oh,
No,
yeah,
that's what I
when he
mean.
came
Like,
in.
I heard him come in and say something like, "I need to get my phone."
Yeah, he came in to try and put you off your game today. He
5
came in to
o'clock or
wake you up early.
I ended up getting
around. No, I'm joking. So Shane's on. Shane Sawyer's
Oh, yeah.
on a start here.
Dude, I love this direct capture. It's so clean.
Yeah, it is good, isn't it? It's sort of hard to sort of make the effort to look at the one on the left, you know. it's so much cleaner. Yeah, you was only a couple of levels short of there of a kill screen, weren't you? What'd you finish on?
6 screens. Like I finished the end of level. I died on the last screen of level 20, so I just had level 21 to go, and that would have been it.
Yeah.
Which sucks because I was gonna donate that 250 to the bar tab for everybody.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Get back out there.
Yeah, I know.
Start playing.
Jesus. No, let somebody else get it.
Yeah.
Hey, everybody, how we doing?
Yeah, you got Ethan Daniels here. Our, well, as far as the record board says, our top personal best player, like top scorer, 1.4.
1.0. Yeah, 1.049. It should be 04.
Oh, sorry, 1.04.
That's okay.
Yeah. No,
Yeah, 1.04.
Yeah, sorry, 1.4. That'd be not
That'd be
1.4.
heaps.
Yeah, that'd be.
Fucking heaps.
Yeah. Sorry, I probably said that a few times today. Yeah, not 1.4, 1.04. You'd be. I don't think that's scary. I don't think that score would be verified. I think there'd be a lot of investigation of a 1.4 score.
No, never. It would never get verified unless you did it on the Switch platform in save states.
Yeah. Even then, I think he'd be wondering how did he manage to find the points then.
Yeah, there's no way. There's no points for that.
Now here we'll start to really see some controlling of barrels, won't we? If he wants to.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
We'll see it anyway, but if he wants to really sort of push it. And
I have a feeling, based on the way the scores break out right now, that he doesn't have to. He can just kind of run through and come out somewhere near 900.
Well, there's not any real pressure at the moment for anyone to do it, is there? Like, there's 14 slots, 16 slots.
Yeah.
So the need to sort of put yourself in any danger. Whoops.
That was just a rough situation there. If it's one of those typical, 3 barrels coming, none of them steer, and the fireball's underneath you. What do you do?
Guys just came in.
Oh, wow. So yeah, I'm not close enough to hold that up. Kong off 2 card.
Kong off 2 card.
Commentator's curse. They're blaming that one on you.
What's that, sorry?
I said they're
Oh
blaming
yeah.
the commentator's curse.
I'll never get to commentating again. I mustn't say anything. Here you go. Welcome to the Australian Kong Off 2, an historic head-to-head tournament that brings the greatest Donkey Kong players together from Australia, New Zealand, and the rest of the world. Hosted by Richard Nagels, creator of the original Kong Off, the Australian Kong Off 2 seeks to crown Australian New Zealand Donkey Kong champion, who someday goes to America to represent the Down Under and Ricky Knuckles Kong Off world champion. And it goes on and on, which I'll read later.
I wish Alan would have got to the end of that game. That would have been so cool. Although
it would be
number
great
2
to see you
seed's
get,
still
him
sick.
get, yeah.
Wonder if he'll play again.
He said he will. He said he'll play again.
Really? Good.
Yeah. Well, it's so early. Some people may feel forced to play again if the scores go up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like
I was thinking about playing again just because Barrett got the high score on the wall at 80.
Oh yeah, see, that's what I was saying. Oh, there's so many little other leaderboard things to do. Like
so many other reasons to keep playing.
Because I remember talking to Hank Chan when I was after school I went up to New York and caught up with Hank, and he was a little bit disappointed that not in a nasty way, but that Robbie Lakeman had taken his score off. I don't think it was because it wasn't that. I don't think it was because it was his score, but it sat there for such a long time. It was sort of a part of the
part of him.
part of him in the history.
Yeah.
And it's not as if it was either Lakeman or Copeman, but I think it was Lakeman, and it wasn't as if it was really required for that person to do it. Like they had such good scores anyway. So even Hank could have taken that old score off because he played.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But it would have been sitting there.
Just for whatever you want to call it, like, just for clarity's purpose, everybody. Dean, at that time, Dean was still already like 60K ahead of Hank's score.
Yeah, I was saying that earlier.
So, like, not to dive down that wormhole, but, like, even though Hank had the record, he had to know and understand, which he did, because I've talked to him about it, that Dean was the best. But he still held the title at that time.
Oh, he'd said that then at the first Kong off. Like, Dean, even though, because, you know, the way it was, the lead, like the Donkey Kong Forum wasn't there. You know, this is going back in 2011.
Think about.
And Saglio was the name just doesn't seem to get
now
that.
He's in fourth.
Yeah.
Now Dean's in fourth. It's so crazy. Robbie, Wes, and John. Maybe next year we'll get some of those guys out here. Maybe.
Yeah.
It wouldn't surprise me because Wes, he took this big break for the
Well, Wes
Mario
has been
Con.
out. He's come to Australia already, hasn't he?
Yeah, he went and stayed with Alan.
Yeah.
But he's doing something like non-Donkey Kong right now. We're on his stream. He's playing every single Mario game. It's like 250 games, and he's beating them. And it's been like, you know, a year that he spent on this. And he said that when he's done, he's going to get the record back. So assuming that, you know, that all happens in the next 9 to 10 months, he'll be in good shape to maybe come here next year for this. Which would be cool. Oh, baby, here's a freezer. He got up before. That can be rough. This is so great. It looks so good with the direct capture.
There was something you just said a second ago I was just going to ask about. It doesn't matter, I'll think of it in a second. But Wes Copeland's quite a good defender player, isn't he?
Yeah. Dude, have you ever played that game? I can't touch it.
Well,
There's like a keyboard full of buttons.
I stood in front of it pressing buttons and moving a joystick. I don't know if that's playing it.
Yeah, I tried it once. That's a one.
And then
a rare
Stargate's
machine,
got an extra button.
Incredibly hard. Yeah. Even more. Any Kong for sale? Yeah, they're like $2,000 if you want to buy one. $2,000 AU.
We've got a 644,000 game going.
Really?
A what game?
644
At Johnny.
Yeah.
Oh, Johnny. Okay, maybe we might get that shift across then and see.
Yeah, maybe shift it like if Reggie's game ends.
Yeah, Johnny Bond is on a 600,000+. Oh, there we go, 650,000+ game going.
650 is there another stream? Or maybe that's someone who's here who's typing in chat.
Someone must be. Yeah, there must be people who are doing on Facebook Messenger and they're.
This is so great. It's so great. Look at these barrels, guys. You can't see it, but this one's got Donkey Kong on the side of it.
Yeah, maybe you should move that one down and put it over this one.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Must be just blue tacked on. Just don't damage it. It might have Velcro on it. There you go. There you go. Oh, nicely done. Could have been a window decorator.
I'll probably be sitting right in front of it. Nope.
No, perfect. No, I thought of it earlier. I thought I'll nick that one. I thought, I'm not allowed to nick that one. And I didn't realise there was one around the corner.
I really like that. I actually have a barrel like that next to my Donkey Kong machine. And I never got it done, but I wanted to get a glass top cut for it that I could just set on top. I know. I found it at like an antique co-op for like $40.
Where's your shirt? You're one of the rare people not wearing a video. I'm one too, but no video game shirt. Did you get a pin?
Yeah.
Put your pin on. I might step out for a minute. I might try and get the update on the leaderboard and see if we can get shifted to Johnny Bond, but I might ask John Tannehill to jump on with you for a bit.
That's fine.
Yeah, no worries, man. So if you just shuffle across here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you hop across. Hey, John.
Gentlemen. The Donkey Kong hype is here. How are we doing?
Yeah, good.
Very good.
There you go. Calm down a little bit after exhilarating
My
game.
armpits are dried off. I got the wash. Feeling good. I couldn't have asked for any more, man. Like I didn't expect that.
You could have asked for another 2 levels, but
yeah, another 6 screens, I would have been done.
Another 6 screens, yeah.
But yeah, it's okay. Beggars can't be choosers. I got really lucky. 2 rivets that finished with 0 on the timer.
Yeah. A couple of close calls there in that game.
What are you gonna do though? You got to gamble at that point, right?
Yeah, Alan had a good game.
Alan had a great game. If he would have got to the end, he would have beat that 840 or whatever that I got. Johnny,
what'd you finish on?
666,900.
6669. Very good. Very good.
Scores today.
Big scores, mates.
Still got another
What's up, Gilly?
8 hours of qualifying.
Yeah. We got 8 hours left, and we've already got an 8, a 7, and a 600-point score, or 600,000 point score.
Still waiting on that first kill screen of the day, though.
Yeah. No, I'm sure we'll see it. If not Shane, maybe Barra, maybe Estel. Direct feed's so cool.
Shane's not having a bad start.
No, he's playing really like conservative, safe, and smart. In theory, as long as he doesn't make a couple of mistakes, he should be good.
Well, yeah, it's only about a month ago that he got his 918, the Australian record.
The Australian record. Don't say it too loud. Alan's right there.
He knows what he needs to do. He's only worried about the mill. He wants to be the first Australian to crack the mill.
Yeah, that would be so sick. I don't know, Flo. Maybe when I get a direct capture thing, or I think Tanner was working on something like that. Maybe when they're done, I'll buy one from him. Oh, baby. Nice reaction there by Shane. Honestly, I probably would have pushed up that right ladder and paid the price for it. That was a really good readjustment.
So, Ethan, can you explain to me, on the springs, I noticed you're doing some vertical jumping before going to the first platform. What's some...
Nothing.
Nothing?
Just nervous energy.
Okay.
Yeah. Like when I'm riding up the platform, I do that same thing too. Just nervous energy, buying my time. Yeah. I mean, I'd like to think that jump inputs affect the way the fireball moves, but there's no theory. You know what I mean? There's no proof behind that. It's like when on a rivet, when you just see me wiggling back and forth with a hammer, I'm trying to get them down the ladder, but there's
just doing any inputs that might change the RNG.
Yeah, you're like blasting off nervous energy, like slowly getting it out of your system. Oh, looks like someone else is on Richie's cab now, so it's no longer Sir Richie.
Yeah.
I don't know who that is, so I'm just gonna maybe get rid of that. Thanks for watching, everybody. It's pretty sweet to have a big audience like this. I wonder what time it is in the U.S. Probably late. Yeah, it's 10 p.m. Friday night. Man, you guys are getting to watch this Kong off on a Friday night. The West Coasters, it's only 6. The East Coasters, it's 7, and the East Coasters, it's 10. What an exciting Friday night stream. Still October in the U.S. Nah, not quite.
I reckon it's going to be the cutoff for top 16. You reckon?
I don't know. Maybe like I'd like to think it'll be close to 300,000, but we'll see. Maybe 250. Because I know a little bit ago Estel was in 3rd with like 305 or something, but Johnny just got a score. Kibby should be good for a score. Richie should be good for a score. Estel should be good for a score. Yeah, maybe 250.
I think, I think
200. I don't know. There's 16, so it's tough to say.
Yeah, I think top 16 currently is just under 200 at the moment, but it should hopefully be about 250. Maybe, get to 3. That would be impressive. Get 16 over 300.
It's amazing how quickly like community can ramp up like this. Like, whatever last year's standard was could just be blown away this year.
I think last year top 8 was 300. So it's just a whole new level this year.
I'll be honest, I was like grinding for the last few, not grinding, but I played 3 or 4 days in the last 2 weeks. And at one point I was like, I should see what the scores were on the leaderboard from last time. And when I saw that it was like 300 or something, but it was only 8. I was like, man, I can't imagine it's going to be like that this year. Even with 16, I feel like the bottom number is going to be closer to that. Did you try any of the banana?
Yeah. I don't know I still don't know what I feel about that.
It smells good. You walk in the door and it just smells like bananas in here. It's really cool. It's all right. I'm not a cider guy.
I like the sourness of it. But
Yeah,
there's a few other things going on I don't understand.
yeah, exactly. Well put. What do you think, Kibby?
That one. DK, it's good. DK cider. Have you tried that?
You want to sit down for a little bit? Sure.
No, you get a beer.
Yeah. You want to get me one? I'll give you money.
Give me one. No,
Just give me the Bird Pale Ale or whatever.
Just which one?
It's like Bird Pale Ale or something.
Pale Ale.
Yeah. Something Bird. Scooey. Thank you, sir.
So what sort of pace is Shane on at the moment?
Thank you. Thank you. I don't know what it is, but thank you. Oh, is it chocolate?
Yeah, it's chocolate.
Allen's Fantails. That's good. Sorry, to answer your question. Well, I'll just assume you got 100. So that means you got another 145 the next 3 levels, which is like 48. 48 times 17 would be like 50 times 17, 500, 920, minus 34, 880. My math's off there. 35 plus 500, 850, minus 34, 815, right around 900, 905, maybe 910. You just never know though, like, at this point in my game, I was like 930, 940, and then I had a couple 5-packers where I got 0, and a couple rivets where I got 0. And it just slowly trickles down. But he's definitely on pace to take the top score if he gets to the end.
Then they want us to read the Fantails trivia on the stream. So here we go. Here's the riddle. Who am I? Born in Sydney in 1964, she is well known as a model, but is also a successful businesswoman. She was signed to a modeling agency during a trip to New York when she was studying law. She is known as The Body. After her... There we go! We have a winner!
Who am I? Born in New Zealand, 1964. The answer is clearly Kiwi Barra. He began acting in local Australian TV shows, but his first big break was in live film Romper Stomper, 1992. The answer is Russell Crowe. These guys know their shit. Very good, all pinball. Very good. What is Paulina? So will they stream the Nibbly?
Yeah, so on Monday we'll be streaming the Nibbler Marathon and I think
Space Invaders.
Space Invaders, yeah. I'll go for Richie and I'll both go for some high scores on Space Invaders.
You did the commentary for Kibby's last, I think, right?
We didn't really do commentary. We just support crew for him.
Maybe that's what it was. I feel like I saw you doing commentary on one of the streams. Maybe it was last year. For
I did a bit of commentary for Armando's Gallagher stream earlier in the year.
Maybe that was it.
And then, yeah, we were on camera a little bit for Michael Kibby's Nibbler MAME record.
Yeah, I thought I remembered seeing a group sitting around, and you were one of them. Cheers, mate. Thank you very much.
So it's one jam-packed weekend. Fun does not stop. I I don't know. I think we might have a few other people might go for a couple of records on, or, a couple of high scores on Monday. I think Barrow was talking about maybe going for another Gallagher score.
Oh, that'd be cool. Seriously, guys, I know it's on the other side of the earth for a lot of the viewers, but man, if you can get yourselves out to Netherworld, this place is amazing. The culture here is so cool. The place is packed at night. It's just filled with young people that love playing games, and they've got good food and good beer, and just the whole area, man. Brisbane's sick. It's my first time here, and I'll definitely be coming back.
Definitely, Brisbane's become the pinball capital of the Southern Hemisphere. Yeah.
No kidding.
Yeah, it's huge. The pinball scene here is huge. So this year with the Brisbane hosted the Pinball Masters, it was Jimmy. Just find how many players there is. I think it was over 200 players around that. They had 40 pinball machines on the floor.
Wow.
Next year we extend that to 50 machines and 20 arcade machines. They might have to move Konglock to a bigger venue next year even.
That'd be cool.
It's all happening. It's all happening in Brisbane.
So yeah, I just like riding around in Ubers. I've seen a whole bunch of like different arcades and game spots. Like the one said it was open till 4 in the morning.
Yeah, there's a VR game place just down the road. There's a pinball and jerky place just around the corner from here as well.
Pinball and jerky?
Pinball and jerky, yeah.
Like beef jerky.
Yeah, beef jerky, fresh beef jerky, and biltong from South Africa. It's really great stuff, really great place.
I gotta check that out before I go home.
The Pinball House.
That's what it's called?
Pinball House. Yeah.
I will check that shit out.
Yeah, they've got about 20 pinballs on site, including they just got one of the new Houdinis from American Pinball. So they've got some really great cabs, and immaculate condition as well. The owner restores them all. And and then we've got, if you get a chance as well, we'll have to show you guys One Up, just on the other side of the river here in Brisbane. They're following the same model as Galloping Ghost, so they're introducing a new arcade game every week. They've currently got over 100 arcade games on the floor and over 20 pinballs.
Now, how long do they plan to do that for? Did they say?
Until they run out. I think they've got space.